Marriott Bonvoy is the official hotel partner of US Soccer. Join Marriott Bonvoy today to get closer to the game with exclusive perks, unforgettable experiences, and benefits that go beyond the pitch. Spring Hill Suites, part of Marriott Bonvoy, offers complimentary hot breakfast and spacious all-suite accommodations, perfect for the whole team, with room for up to 6 guests. Make your next getaway a win. Learn more at springhillsuites.marriott.com.
The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
G'day world, this is the Sniper of the Skies, Robbie Eagles, and you are listening to Keeping It Strong Style.
This is Rich Latta from One Nation Radio. This is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We present to you the Ace of Podcasts, Keeping It Strong Style. Let's go. It's the Ace of Podcasts, Keeping It Strong Style. Covering New Japan, they ready to hold it down. Jeremy, Donovan, and the young boy Josh. Come and hit a job out and bury all the frauds. From the Tokyo Dome over to the G1. Social Suplex is the network where we can get it done. I'ma chill and let them have it, cause this is just an intro. Keeping the strong style, 6 stars from the get-go, boy. Yeah, from Tampa Bay to the Tokyo Dome, this is Keeping It Strong Style with your hosts, Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Joshua Smith. And thank you for listening.
Welcome to Keeping It Strong Style, the Ace of Podcast on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Jeremy Donovan here with the young boy Josh Smith. On today's show, we'll review the road to Tokyo Dome, preview our year-end awards, and cover all this news in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling. Please support our show by subscribing and following the Social Suplex Podcast Network and Keeping It Strong Style on the podcast app of your choice and leave a rating and review. You can also get all the network's podcasts over at socialsuplex.com. If you enjoy this podcast, please consider making a one-time or monthly donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and click on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. And we are streaming live right now on patreon.com/KI Strong Style for IWGP subscribers. If you want to watch our show live or listen without ads, sign up at patreon.com/KI Strong Style. Young boy, how you doing, man?
I am exhausted. It's just that time of the year. Everything is very, very busy when it comes to work and life and family and mental health. And my dog's going crazy, all sorts of stuff. Plus, we got this trip coming up, year-end awards, watching New Japan. It's just a lot. So I am very tired. We just got off the air. We're going head to head. Apparently they counter programmed us, but we just got off the Christmas extravaganza live stream with Lyric and Danny, Black Girl Wrestling. And that was really cool. And now we're here live.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. So make sure you check out their live stream still going right now if you're listening live. If not, you can go back to their YouTube channel and watch a stream. Really fun stuff, and they're doing it for charity. So we were happy to be a part of that. And it's always fun doing podcasts with Lyric. We'll have to have her on the show again sometime soon.
Yeah, I feel bad because I could tell just very, with the brief interactions we had that New Japan's probably not like Danny's primary wrestling. And I was like, I want to talk about something she likes, but maybe we will get to broadcast, do some audio together here in the future. But before we jump into things, how are things going with you, man?
It's going good, man. Just, trying to wind down things at work and getting ready for Tokyo Dome trip and getting ready for baby. We're last trimester right now. So just, that's all that's going on here, man.
Yeah. I, was able to mix myself a little drink. So I know I didn't do that for FOH, but, Christmas time is coming up, time to sit back and relax. So, was able to, we're going to give you a little flavor of FOH unhinged tonight.
Well, I did not have any drinks. I already drank all my FOH leftovers. So
no, I'm just playing, but, very excited to do the show. You and I haven't even discussed. I was like, how in depth do we really want to go with these awards this year?
Well, here's what I was thinking, because I felt like Road Tokyo Dome, there wasn't a lot really until today's show. So I was figuring we can kind of speed run through a lot of Road to Tokyo Dome, focus on today's show, and then we can spend some time going through the awards.
Yeah, that's totally fine. The other thing too is because the big show in Korakuen took place today, I was watching it, off and on throughout the day, but I had an appointment right after work that I had to go to and then come straight here. So it's like I watched the last 3 matches on 2x speed. So I'm like, I don't know how much of this I'm truly absorbing. I'm enough of a professional to, probably fake it till you make it. But, I didn't even get to watch Tanahashi's post match. I didn't get to see the snowfall yet. So I still gotta,
behind.
A little behind. Yeah.
Well, we'll jump into that. Quick plug. So, Podcasting Summit fan meetup, like we've been saying, day of Tokyo Dome, Wrestle Kingdom, will be meeting at the Hub. 3-minute walk away from the Dome at noon. So come hang out with us. We work stiff. Speaking of Strong Style and the Super J-Cast, it's going to be a fun time. And also speaking of Strong Style, we were on their episode last week on Fight Game Media. So you can go ahead and check that out to get some early Tokyo Dome thoughts there. FOH draft, like you were talking about FOH, the audio version for FOH is up, the pay what you want model over at the Social Suplex Pay Hip. We've already, cracked the record for FOH with the live stream and the audio, but we want to continue to run it up. So if you haven't got your FOH yet, head over to the Pay Hip. We suggest $5. You can do more. If you do less, Rich Latta will come and find you, but go ahead and check that out.
I don't know how many people have actually gotten it without paying or anything like that, but there was one person who was just like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, I think it was last year's FOH, maybe 2 years ago. Rich joked about if we see a zero, we're coming for your laptop. We'll get that download back.
Oh man, yeah. Also, the 2 latest episodes of Tanahashi Ace of the Universe 2013 and 14 have dropped. 2015 is coming shortly. I am hoping to have 2016 done and in the can and ready for upload before we leave for Tokyo Dome. So
yeah,
just 1 week away, and then two bits of surprise. So we do have Chris Samsa confirmed for our annual Wrestle Kingdom preview episode. That's next Monday on the 29th. So, it's so close to New Year's this year, but he's been gracious with his time. And then, Jeremy, I didn't even really mention this to you, but in 3 days' time, the New Japan Concorso will be dropping, and I was able to arrange for members of both the Trish and Sarah podcast and Tunnel Talk who are on a hiatus, who are taking a break from recording episodes during the holiday season, but they will be getting together to do a very brief 10-ish minute snippet, maybe less, reviewing the male bodies or even female bodies. Who knows? Last year, I think we had some Joshi wrestlers, but they will be giving their thoughts and in-depth analysis on the New Japan Concorso. So we don't have to do that, but I am looking forward to, especially since they don't actively, well, Trish does, but the majority of those girls, they don't actively watch New Japan too often. So I think it's going to be very funny to see their live reaction.
Splicing that in, or are we doing a Patreon bonus?
No, we're going to splice that in.
Okay.
Yeah,
nice.
So they'll be sending you the audio.
Nice. That's awesome. All right, well, let's jump into things here. So we had 3 Road to Tokyo Dome shows here. Unlike previous years, only one night in Korakuen Hall. So the first night opened up Friday, December 19th. This was in G. Messi Gunma. We had Taguchi, Tiger Mask, and Zane J defeating Great Bash Heel and Masatora Yasuda. We had Bishamon, Bolton Oleg, and Tatsuya Matsumoto defeating Wato, Shimakato, Toriano, and Yo, which it does seem like they are pushing that Bishamon and Bolton are going to be a 3-man unit for the Rambo. So kind of a little preview there. Then we had Doki, Sho, and Yujiro defeating Desperado, Katsuya Murashima, and Kukai. So a little bit of a preview of the junior 4-way for Tokyo Dome. Then we had Evil, Ren Narita, Sonata, and Kanemaru defeating Team 100 and Umino and Uemura by disqualification. We had a Aaron Wolf run in here as well. Then we had Gato, Shingo Takagi, and Yota Tsuji defeating United Empire team of Cal Newman, Great Khan, Jacob Austin Young by disqualification. So things just continue to get more heated between United Empire and the unaffiliated LIJ War Dogs team as we head into their 10-man tag. Then semi-main event, we had Hartley Jackson, Kosei Vegeta, Oiwa, and Zack Sabre Jr. defeating the Knockout Brothers, Taiji Ishimori, and Daiki Nagai. So preview for the tag title match coming up at New Year's Dash. And then the main event was Hiroshi Tanahashi defeating the ticking time bomb Hiromu Takahashi in 14 minutes and 25 seconds.
Yeah, it is unfortunate that as great as the when they do them, the preview video packages for these main events that they do periodically, they're never they do give like Japanese subtitles often, but they don't give English. And I'm like, damn, I really wish they'd either do that in post or for the show, because it's the one aspect of the company as an English speaker that you can't really follow. There is no live translation and they don't do it later on. But the video packages for all of the Tanahashi final road matches during this these last 3 nights of Road to Tokyo Dome have been really, really good and kind of emotional. So I've liked that. But this match in particular, I felt like Tanahashi's matches got better each night as they went on. So that would be to say that the match with Hiromu, I feel like, was of the 3 the weakest, but that's not a slight on that match because I still thought it was very, very good. And it was probably of the 3, even if it wasn't the highest, as high of a quality as the other 2, I felt like the struggle and emotion of the match was the story, and it was maybe a little bit more on display than the other 2 matches. And there were certainly callbacks from Hiromu to both trying to steal the Rainmaker and utilize Okada's moves. And then he also stole signatures from Tetsuya Naito and even, teased doing he was doing the back elbows that Naito does, but he also teased that he was going to do a Destino. He wasn't successful with it. But ultimately Tanahashi was able to wear him down. And there was this sense of not wanting to give the victory to Tanahashi, where like down the stretch, Hiromu was like grasping at his boots and screaming in only the way that Hiromu is known to do, and was really standing against that impending loss, even though it was inevitable. And he ate the high fly flow and the 1, 2, 3. Every single one of these matches actually ended about the same, where Tanahashi was able to get some sling blades and German suplexes and then high fly attack into a high fly flow for a very definitive clean 1, 2, 3 every night.
Yeah, pretty much everything what you said there is what I was thinking. Overall, yeah, good match. It is a shame that this match didn't happen like 5 or 6 years ago when both guys were a little bit more in their prime and could do a little bit more. But for what it was, yeah, it was very good. It was more of a grapple-based matchup. And then, like you mentioned, it's a lot of kind of storytelling of the struggle and Hiromu using some of Tanahashi's rivals' moves throughout the match. And it was good for what it was. Tanahashi picking up the win with the high fly flow. And a lot of people were kind of wondering, is Tanahashi going to win these last set of matches? And he picked up the big win here on Hiromu.
They asked Tanahashi in the backstage comments what his thoughts were facing 3 juniors back to back to back going into the Tokyo Dome. And he said something to the extent of, I wanted to wrestle everybody on the roster. It wasn't possible. But even with that being the case, these are 3 guys that I really wanted to face off with throughout the year. And he's like, and to me, they're not juniors, they're full-fledged stars. And I thought that was a really kind of interesting viewpoint that he kind of put over. Like he was like, yeah, they're not juniors, they're stars. And we know that Tanahashi is even though he does have tendencies to be traditionalist and to represent like the heritage and history of Japan, he's also a guy who has reshaped what New Japan was from the heyday of Inoki and really integrated so much of Western wrestling, and everywhere else in the world, juniors are not viewed the way that they are in Japan. And I do wonder, with him being the president, if there will ever be a time with his influence where some of that sentiment, plays itself out on the screen. We'll see.
Yeah, I hope so. And I wonder like how much influence he's had as president while still wrestling. I think I read something somewhere where like part of him becoming president is like they wanted him to not be an active wrestler. So I'm wondering if these past couple of years, if it's kind of been more of a figurehead thing, and when he actually retires, if he'll have more of a say in what happens in the booking and with the company. But yeah, hopefully that mindset is pushed forward, and we do see these guys treated like stars, not afterthoughts, being featured on the big shows and not being sequestered to their own little universe.
Well, he was supposed to retire last year, but things happened.
Yes. So next show we had night 2. This was Sunday, December 21st in the Light Cube Tsunomiya. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly. Show opened up. We had Doki and Sho defeating Kukai and Tatsuya Matsumoto by ref's decision. Then we had Great Bash Heel defeating Katsuya Murashima and Zayn J. Then Master Wato, Shomakato, Toriano, and Yo defeating Team 100, Masatori Yasuda and Tiger Mask. And we continue to see a little bit of tension between Kojima and Taichi. And then in the backstage, I believe it was this show, they announced that Tomohiro Ishii would be coming back from injury to join them in the Never Six-Man Rambo at the Tokyo Dome.
Mm-hmm.
Then from there, we had Bishamon, Bolton, Umino, and Uemura defeating Evil, Narita, Sanada, Kanemaru, and Yujiro Takahashi. Then we had Newman, Okan, Jacob Austin Young defeating Daiki Nagai, Hiromu, and Shingo Takagi. In a semi-main event, we had the Naka brothers Ishimori and Yota Tsuji defeating Hartley Jackson, Kosei Vegeta, Oiwa, and Zack Sabre Jr. And then the main event, we had the ace Hiroshi Tanahashi defeating El Desperado in 18 minutes and 30 seconds.
I liked this one a bit more than the match with Hiromu. I liked that they brawled all over the building. I liked how actually all three men attacked Tanahashi pretty aggressively early on, but it was the match with Desperado where I felt like Tanahashi was moving a little bit better. I don't know if maybe some of the intention with these matches is not just to work with these guys, but also kind of help Tanahashi get into working shape and, dust off some of the ring rust from doing so many tag matches throughout, November and December. But I thought he moved a little bit better, a little more fluidly, as much as can be expected for him. And it was funny, the idea that we all know Desperado. He likes to focus on the leg. He likes to go for what's his leg submission called?
The numero dos.
I was going to call it the numero dos, but I thought that was the one where he plants them on their face. So I was like, I don't want to call it that. Yeah, the numero dos. And he focused extensively on Tanahashi's leg, which is the hallmark of Tanahashi's offense as well. So, as I've said in the past, you don't want to dragon screw with the dragon screwer, you know what I'm saying? But he tried his hand and attacked. And it is funny because it's like more people should be attacking the knees of Tanahashi. He's got none, right? So why don't you go after the bullseye? But Desperado was very clearly targeting them and pretty ruthless in his aggression. So much so that on commentary, we had Japanese commentary for these first two nights, which, it's not the worst thing in the world. But I was kind of like, damn, they let these guys go home for the holidays and spend time with their families. Like,
what are we doing here?
Yeah, what are we doing? You got to have love for the game. You got life on the road, brother. But he was so vicious in some of his attacks on the outside, utilizing chairs and things like that, that the announce team was like, Suzuki-gun. And I was like, yeah, it is like Suzuki-gun Desperado. He was taking shortcuts. He tried to get a count out on this man. He was wrestling him the way I used to wrestle Undertaker in Beat the Streak mode, where it's like, I don't care how I fucking get this win. I just need to beat this guy. And yeah, he tried everything that he could, but it was a situation where the power and offense of Tanahashi kind of overcame the smaller body of one El Desperado. And down the stretch, again, he was able to, hit the high fly flow. One thing I loved about the psychology of the match is Tanahashi kept trying to goad this dude to go into strike spots, and Desperado's like, no, fuck your knee. Just kick the knee.
Yeah. I really did like the story of this match. And yeah, Desperado consistently going for the numero dos, trying to work on the knee, trying to get a submission victory over Tanahashi. And then, midway towards the match, Tanahashi going like, oh, I'm going to go after your knee as well, doing dragon screws and doing the Texas cloverleaf, getting a big pop from the crowd there, getting a near submission. And yeah, I thought, like you were saying, as we went on, each match got a little bit better. So yeah, I thought Tanahashi looked a little bit better here in this matchup. And again, a more kind of a grapple-based matchup here. Despy wasn't doing a lot of flying here. It was more kind of brawling, like you mentioned, on the outside with the chairs, and then the heavy focus on the knee in the ring.
He did hit his own version of he hit a frog splash.
Hit the lowdown, yeah.
A lowdown version of the frog splash, which I was a little bit surprised about, because it's like, yeah, Desperado is a junior, but I can't remember the last time that dude went to the top rope at all.
But I feel when he does, the lowdown has been like one of the top rope moves that he does do when he does go to the top.
See, I didn't remember that. Actually, you know what? The earlier today when I was thinking back, and I was like, did he used to hit a frog splash? But it feels like it's been since the Kanemaru tag days where he might have been doing something like that. So it's since he's put on the pounds. Here's a funny thing is when I was trying to explain to the Tunnel Talk girls what a concorso was, I sent them the 22, 2023, and 2024 photos to give them an idea of what it is. And Trish was in there and she was like, what the fuck is going on with Desperado's body? And then I looked and I was like, in 2022, dude was shredded. Then in 2023, he's getting a little soft. And that's the year where he had the hair in front of his face. There's no mask. And you're like, what the fuck's he doing? And then 2024, he's wearing the Star Spangled Banner unitard and he's clearly fat. And I was like, you can see year over year the decline of this guy in terms of body guyism. Like he's just kind of lost it. So yeah, maybe we need to see a return to form for this guy. I don't care what, it's Japan. Like, get on the gas, brother. I don't care what the fuck you gotta do. But
well, the thing is like he's become more and more a deathmatch wrestler. He's like, I don't need a good body to be a deathmatch guy. I'm hitting people with stuff. Like, why do I need a 8-pack abs to be a deathmatch wrestler for?
this fat protects me. If it was all muscle, I'd just be getting shredded. So yeah, that is kind of funny. But I think the work rate of the final match was, we'll talk about it here in a minute. It was more of a sprint for sure. So maybe that's one reason I liked it. But in terms of like an actual overall match, the Desperado match it probably is the best of the three matches, honestly.
Yeah, I think it is. And I love too that it just felt like Desperado was kind of on the same page as Tanahashi. It kind of links back to the comments you mentioned. And also kind of points back to what we were saying about him and Hiromu being heavyweights. Like, I didn't feel like they were undersized or, it seemed completely odd to be in the ring with a guy like Tanahashi. And so I hope Tanahashi's comments, ring true. And we do see some of the juniors elevated, and especially guys like Hiromu and Desperado being used in more of the heavyweight division, especially when you look at Desperado's body and being like, yeah, I don't know if that guy's quite hitting the junior heavyweight weight limit. So really good stuff there. Good closeout match there. And that takes us to today's show, which was from Korakuen Hall, December 22nd. So show opened up. We had a NJPW World TV Open Challenge match. And it was Ryusuke Taguchi who answered the Open Challenge and challenged El Phantasmo for the title. But ELP was able to get the win in 8 minutes and 58 seconds. So this match was a very ha-ha match. I'm actually surprised we didn't see the return of Masked Horse, the Christmas character that Taguchi did a couple years ago. But very funny ha-ha. They were going slow motion chops, slow motion suplexes. And for the majority of the match until towards the end there, it kind of went back to normal pace when Taguchi was hitting the Three Amigos, and then towards the end, El Phantasmo was able to get the win, and it seemed like all fun and games. You had Jado out there in the reindeer suit, and it was all fun and games. And then you had a young lion coming and bringing a present to El Phantasmo, and he opens it up, and it is a doll, which belongs to, I guess, Chris Brooks. I don't know the whole lore behind the doll, but Chris Brooks comes out from TT Pro Wrestling. Seems like it's all gonna be fun and games, but he attacks Phantasmo and lays his claim to challenge for the NJPW World TV title at the Tokyo Dome. So we were wondering whether or not Phantasmo was going to challenge or defend his title at the Dome, saying he would, but they had released the final card. And so, yes, Phantasmo will be defending the title against Chris Brooks.
Yeah, Taguchi coming out as the mystery partner gave me PTSD to last year's World Tag League when he was X on the team with Zane or Alex. I was gonna call him Zane J. Alex Zane. So I was like, oh, okay, Taguchi X. That's great. What a letdown. And then I don't know. I guess I have mixed feelings on it. Like I could bury it and just be like, this haha bullshit, the slow-mo strikes. This is not what I want to see in my New Japan. And that is kind of true. But I also think like if it's just on the prelims and it gets over with the live audience and it's not like an everyday thing, it's probably, I guess, okay, even if it's not for me. But then the other flip is, because it is just the opening match. But on the flip side of it, I'm thinking like, yeah, but this TV title used to really mean something. Like, when it was on the likes of Zach and Tanahashi. And, I think with ELP, it could mean something, but it's just an opening act, belt. So whatever. I did think it was funny how they pulled down the pants of Taguchi as they're apt to do. And instead of the red thong, he has the white granny panties. I'm like, oh, okay, modesty. At least this guy's a little covered. Yeah. But then he decided to yank them up into a thong. And I love whoever's doing this. They're doing God's work. But that cameraman, he was able to preemptively anticipate the space and angle that he was going to use to pull up the thong. And he just so carefully placed the ring cable into the frame so that it covered his ass so that I didn't have to see the bare ass of one Rizuki Taguchi. So that was kind of nice. Thank you, whoever is doing the work there on the camera team. But the match itself was fine. It was just whatever. The post-match angle, once I saw that puppet come out, I was like, the fuck? I don't like this is I'm never going to be a fan of dolls in professional wrestling. I don't give a fuck at all how over it gets, how popular it is, whatever. I don't even care that it's not for me. No, it has no business, no place in professional wrestling. Fuck man. That.
I need to cue I need to chop in Joe Lando's puppet rant.
Bro, I fucking hate that shit, They do it in AEW. They've done it in WWE. They did it in WWF all the way back in 91 when they or 92 when they did SummerSlam and the Legion of Doom were coming out with Rocco, that shit sucked back then. It still sucks now. That being said, Chris Brooks was super duper over.
Mm-hmm, yeah, big reaction.
Big, huge reaction for Chris Brooks. And, I can't claim to have watched very much Chris Brooks myself, honestly. What was that one group in Rev Pro? Was it CCK with like Jonathan Gresham and those guys?
Yeah, I think that sounds right. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he was in CCK, and I know he was speaking what sounded to me like pretty good Japanese on the show.
Yeah, he was saying, Phantasmo, you've been here so long and you can barely speak it. Like, listen to me kind of thing. So he was kind of, putting over his Japanese.
I know he's a good friend of Zach's. I know, like, behind the scenes, Zach and ELP, they're good friends. I'm sure these guys are all buddies. I don't know if this is leading to Chris potentially signing with New Japan, but he did declare himself as DDT representative. Chris Brooks. Maybe this has something to do with the recent kind of softening of the decade-long animosity between DDT and New Japan, and maybe it's signs of them starting to work together a little bit more. Or perhaps it is the beginning of them poaching the white man, which I think is usually okay as long as it's a white man. But at the same time, I'm glad that I am glad ELP actually does have a title match on the Dome. I think the singles titles should be defended, and this one is getting defended. So that's really good. And it's against a serious opponent. So I think that that's really good too. But on the flip side, I don't know that I'm happy. And this is not me hating on Chris Brooks. I don't have enough data to tell you how I feel about him one way or the other. I've heard good things, coming from like the European and the Japanese scene. But it's just, he wrestles in companies I don't really follow. But I am still kind of wondering, like, if you're going to do a big spot like that, why are we using an outside talent that maybe he's more over in Japan than I realized, because he did get a big reaction in that crowd. And maybe it'll be a stellar match, which is something we complained about last week, that the card seems to be lacking. But I am just wondering, I'm like, there are young, big names in the company that are without a big singles match. Why are we bringing in Chris Brooks to do this match? It's a little surprising to me.
Yeah, I think I might have been a little bit more okay with it had some of the other young guys were in featured spots. And I was like, oh, this is cool, bring in an outside big name for this open challenge. That's cool. But then, yeah, when you look up and down the card and see a lot of these guys like Umino and Uemura and Oiwa don't have a match at the Dome, or they're going to be stuck in the Rambo, it's like,
Bolton.
Yeah, it's like, okay, so we're giving their spot to Chris Brooks. And like you said, it's probably going to be a very good match. It's going to be a cool kind of interpromotional matchup. But it does leave you the question, like, or why did we prioritize putting a DDT guy in a singles match versus one of our young guys that we need to get over?
Probably is to put over ELP. I doubt he's going to drop the title here. Although with the reaction that Chris Brooks got, I was thinking, like, man, if this guy is staying, this feels like a hot enough start that you could just belt this dude up and let him stick around. Mm-hmm. And I am glad that we got, it was nice to see a cool, surprising angle on a Road to Tokyo Dome show, because it has felt a little bit like, okay, what are we doing to gear up for some of these matches? The card has felt finalized, but there's not enough story taking place night in and night out to build the anticipation for the Dome. So this was a really good and well-received angle. I'm kind of just analyzing it from the broader picture, but it was done really well. And it felt like, if you want to belt this dude up, if he's sticking around, you could probably belt him up, at least from that reaction. I don't know what it's going to be like on January 4th in the Tokyo Dome, but he was over. So
yeah, it was a good angle. And yeah, the first two Road to shows felt very house showy, if only the main highlight being the Tanahashi matches, like you're saying. So there wasn't a lot of development to really build up a lot of the other matches on the Tokyo Dome. So yeah, it was good from the jump. Yeah, we had the haha match. We got a good angle out of it. And much like you, I have not seen much Chris Brooks. And again, like you, I've heard he's, very good. And so I'm expecting a very good matchup, but it just leaves me wondering, like, could this have been somebody else, so, in this spot challenging Phantasmo?
I'm not a fan of DDTism. I know that there's some people listening that go gaga over that shit. And I do worry about the integration of DDTism, which I feel like is the last thing that New Japan needs right now.
Yeah. So following that, we had Bishamon teaming up with Bolton Oleg to defeat Team 100 and Tiger Mask. So again, kind of another preview for the Never Six-Man Rambo. We did have Ishii, who was seconding Kojima and Taichi in Tiger Mask. And I felt like this is more of a match to really highlight Bishamon and Bolton. It seems like they're going to be, I don't think it's been officially announced yet, but it seems like they're going to be a trio going into the Rambo. So you kind of got them over as a trio. And then also you still had a little bit of issues with Kojima and Taichi. And then post-match you had Ishii coming in there to try and settle things down. And they are, a confirmed unit for the Rambo.
They've been confirming units backstage during the backstage comments, but they haven't made an official announcement about any of it. But we have a pretty good collection of who's going to be in the Rambo already. And the team of Bishamon and Oleg Boltin is a pretty formidable team. I could potentially see them being the ones that win the entire Rambo. I was actually kind of happy watching this match because Chris Charlton started explaining how it is in fact a Rambo and it is, pinfall submission or over the top. And if someone gets eliminated, then the whole team gets eliminated. And bro, for some reason, there was this mental block in my brain where I've been trying to think about how the card's going to play out. And I'm like, man, that gauntlet is going to take fucking forever because I'm like, man, they got so many teams. This gauntlet is going to just take up the whole entire show. Either that or it's going to be like 3-minute matches. And then they're like Rambo. And I was like, oh, it's not a gauntlet.
It's going to be time entrance. Yeah, there's going to be teams that's coming out.
Yeah, when he was like every 1 or 2 minutes or whatever, I was like, oh, it's a Royal Rumble. I fucking forgot. Yes. I was thinking the gauntlet because that's such like ingrained in my brain. So I'm like, damn, this gauntlet's going to be a slog. I'm not saying the Rambo's going to be good, but I'm just glad to get it off the fucking screen as fast as possible. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, they're starting to put some interesting teams in there. And so if you give the right teams time in there, I think it could be better than what I was expecting.
It will be better than what I was expecting because I was expecting a gauntlet for some reason in my fucking brain. Like, I don't know. No, the Japanese Rumbles just suck, honestly. Yeah. And it'll be good to see the talent that you're wanting to see make an appearance and they'll get a spot, but they don't even really usually lay these out in a compelling way to where it's super hype anyways. It will be a lot of brawling and people just kind of getting like, whoever's the pin eater of that group, they're just going to get fucking jobbed and then gone. So it is what it is. As far as the Ishii thing, it was kind of funny. Like he didn't really say or do much. He just was kind of there. And this was the first time I've ever seen Ishii in street clothes where he just looked fucking old to me. I don't know if it was the size of the clothes he was wearing, but his arms looked really small and like his face just looked old. And I'm like, oh my God, Ishii's maybe when he's just in the gear, it's not as noticeable, but he's looking fucking old right now. But he also was completely really disengaged. Not that he's an overly emotional emoter, but he was just kind of, I'm just fucking here. And I'm like, I think his heart is just back in America. Like he wants to go be chilling with the conglomerate and Willow and shit. And this is like a contractual obligation. And I liked how Chris Charlton was like, and back in the fold, confirmed Ishii. And I was like, I don't know about that. And then finally, I did think it was funny how all throughout the Road to tour, there's been this heat between Taichi and Kojima. And every night it's really Taichi pushing the idea that Kojima's the weak link and he better get his fucking act together so that they can win. And I'm just sitting here thinking like, dog, how many world titles have you ever won? This dude was a world champion in America last year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How's he the fucking weak link? He's like, if you really want to win this, you got to commit. And I'm like, he's won so many fucking titles. Like he can moonwalk into any company right now that's not New Japan or one of the big ones and pretty much be the champion. Taichi's not walking into MLW and becoming world champion. Like I love the guy, but come on. I'm like, this is not realistic. It's just, this is ageism.
Yeah. Dude, I'll be so happy if Kojima wins a belt in my first Tokyo Dome viewing live.
Nah, that's stupid.
That would be the highlight right there.
Bro, you've seen him. You've seen him in St. Pete multiple times.
I know, but it's going to be
with the gold
in Nihon winning, a New Japan title in the Dome. Let's go.
They were talking about when we were on the last podcast about 2 hours ago. Lyric was making a joke about like trying to reinvigorate and improve New Japan. And I wanted, but because I didn't want to bust this joke out in the wrong audience, but I was like, make Nihon great again. Is that what you're saying?
Oh man. So following that, we had Evil, Ren Narita, Sanada, Yoshinobu Kanemaru, and Yujiro Takahashi defeating Master Wato, Shota Umino, Toru Yano, Yo, and Uemura in 8 minutes and 2 seconds. So there was action all over the ring, all over the floor, and then they got back in it. And then at one point we had Aaron Wolf jumping in the ring, but he got choked out and beat up by House of Torture. And he did trip coming into the ring. So again, not a very good looking angle here for him. And House of Torture got the win. And then post match we had Kaisi Takechi from DDT coming in to help save the baby faces, and then he made an alliance with Umino and Uemura and will be their partner in the Rambo.
Yeah, so this is the former Idol pretty boy that has gotten a lot of mainstream buzz over in DDT. Again, another instance of cooperation between these two groups. I don't know much about the guy. I've never seen him work. They put over the fact that he's extremely handsome on the commentary. And I mean, the idea of a heartthrob group with him and Shota Umino and Yuya Uemura, that's probably appealing. I think it's a little jingoistic because I know the friend of the show, Emily, she was wanting ELP to be in that spot, and they relegated the white man to the. He might not be on the real card. He might be on the pre-show with the Young Lions for all we know for that TV title. Wouldn't it be funny if the TV title, which is supposed to be broadcast on TV, doesn't make the TV broadcast for New Japan and in Japan, like it's just on the world broadcast, whatever. But yeah, they put over the idea of all those guys teaming together. I do know that he is 1/3 of the trios champions in DDT.
Right.
So there was some they had already announced that he was going to be involved on the card. They put him on the posters, and there was speculation that would he come over with his partners? I don't even know who they are, but the guys from DDT. But apparently that's not the case. And you do have to wonder if they're going to win the titles, because you've got two of the biggest stars that are involved in this match, two young Reiwa guys. If you are trying to push something for the future, they're very much, I believe, favorites to potentially win. And then you've got the guy that's been most heavily promoted from an outside group coming into the match. And if I'm DDT, I'm like, dog, what are you trying to do right now? Because they did this, in the past with Kota Ibushi. And I'm like, are you trying to steal our idol? We just got this kid. And like, Yeah. Get ready 6 months from now, 8 months from now. Like it's either going to be, I'm wrapping up my dates with DDT and I'm formally announcing my intentions to sign with New Japan, or it's going to be like, I've signed a quote unquote dual contract.
Right.
Which, we'll complain when it's AEW that does this to us, but we don't care when it's New Japan. And that's fair because Nihon.
Exactly. Yeah, watch. He'll be in Best of Super Junior, and then he'll be in Super Junior Tag League, and then more and more he's just going to be around, and it's going to be like, oh, yeah, here we go.
him and Fujita for the IWGP Junior Tag Team title in the Dome, or Junior Heavyweight Championship in the Dome, and then you're like, what's happening here?
Wins the belt.
He'll pull Kota Ibushi. He'll both be the world champion in DDT, but the junior champion in New Japan.
Yeah. So again, good to have another angle here. I felt like the show had a lot of angles, so it was kind of good to also get some more names announced for the Rambo and kind of continue to fill out things for Wrestle Kingdom. So then following that, we had the United Empire, Cal Newman, Great Okan, Jacob Austin Young, defeating Gato, Hiromu Takahashi, and Shingo Takagi in 4 minutes and 44 seconds. A lot of brawling before the bell, and then the match happened, and Gato was kind of the focus in there. A lot of big Gato chants, and towards the end there, it was Gato eating the pinfall. And then there was a wild brawl that happened after the match, and then Cal Newman got on the mic and was like, I'm going to give you guys a Christmas present. I'll reveal one of the X's for our team for the Tokyo Dome. Lights go out, video package plays, and it is Andrade El Idolo, the former La Sombra, announcing that he is doing business all over the world, and he's doing business with his amigos, the United.
I bet he is. I bet he is. Guess what just dropped from Fightful?
What?
Sean Ross Sapp just tweeted out, Andrade is now eligible to sign with AEW, I'm told. Lawyers have negotiated an early exit from WWE that came in the last couple of weeks. More details on how it all happened now on Fightful Select for subscribers. So when this news item came out, right, there were people in our Discord, and I should also mention that there was I don't know who asked this, but I saw it somewhere online where Tony Khan was, asked if Andrade now being confirmed for working with New Japan, if that opened the door for a continued relationship between Andrade. And he said something to the effect of like, yeah, there's definitely interest in that. We both have great respect for one another, and we'll let you know as things happen. But the reaction from a lot of the people in our Discord was this idea operating under the belief that there was still this issue ongoing with his contract status with AEW and WWE, that he kind of like maybe perhaps found a loophole and has signed with New Japan, and like maybe for at least a 1-year deal will probably be getting him periodically coming into the country, being a main unit member, maybe even leader of United Empire, and just being heavily involved in like, how good could that potentially be, considering like the biggest strengths of Andrade are his in-ring. And, say what you will, I know that there is a lot of great in-ring wrestling in AEW, but if you can't project as a star, if you can't promo, if you can't get an angle over, it doesn't really matter how good you are in the ring. Just ask someone like Daniel Garcia, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, what matters the most over there is that you can go in the ring, but you can also go outside of the ring. And that's not really where Andrade excels. So people were like, oh, this is going to be a perfect fit to reinvigorate the guy. He comes to New Japan where he's got history and, gets involved in the company. But like, bro, this is not him signing with New Japan long-term like people think it is. This is, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm just thinking it's probably going to be something where he comes in either for just big shows, or it's a short-term deal like the deal with Dolph Ziggler, or Riddle. Even if it, and Riddle, or even if he does continue to come back, let's say he is dual contracted, you're going to get him, 8 times a year while he's working the majority of his year in Tony Khan land. So this is no different from what we've seen in many other instances. I hate to be the guy that like rains on people's parade, because when it happened, I was like, oh, this is really cool. Very exciting. It's not KOB, so that's cool. But now that it's like all kind of falling into place, it's like, fuck, he's not really probably going to be around. It's not like, and I think they're doing a good job with United Empire. In fact, I wanted to say this. I thought that Callum Newman's promo on the mic, even though it wasn't anything major, his promo to debut the vignette, he just projected like a star. And I was like, okay, yeah, like this guy's really improving in that aspect of like character work. So that's really, really good. But then it's like you get Andrade in there and it's like, I don't know, you start to think about the storyline implications of like, here's what United Empire used to be. Here's what it's been since all these other guys left. Now you inject Andrade. What would this new iteration of the group, what is their identity going to be? And you start playing around with like the optics of it and the character and the storylines. And then you let the real world realization sink in that, oh, this guy's probably not like actually locked in. I know that they pushed heavily on commentary all night. Chris Charlton's like, there's a new money backer, there's new money supporting blah, 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 blah. And you're like, okay, no one's heard about this. So where's it going? And then it's Andrade, but it's probably not a long-term thing. It was done really well. Great vignette, great angle, but like, he's probably not going to be around. Like he's not working G1 probably.
Yeah, I was just like you, really excited this morning when I saw that it was him, because the whole thing was, he did the AEW appearance, and then it was like, oh, well, he had this, 1-year non-compete where it seemed like he couldn't wrestle anywhere. And then it ended up being like, oh, maybe he can do international. WWE let him wrestle in Puerto Rico. And then last week he made a House of Glory appearance, which I thought was pretty weird because I thought like the U.S. was kind of off limits. And so then when he appeared this morning, I was like, oh, maybe he's going to get to do like just, he can't do AEW for a year. He can do like Indies, Puerto Rico, and then he's going to do New Japan. And so, yeah, I was like, this is going to be great. Like, yeah, Andrade rocks in the ring. And we had talked about, you need like the AJ Styles to come in and take over this group. And I'm like, here we go. Like, Andrade has a star power. He has a history in New Japan. Like, he could easily like be the leader of this unit and make it feel bigger and more important going into next year. But yeah, now that you bring up the Fightful news and the realization, like, oh, like now that seems like WWE's is like whatever, like, yeah, go to AEW. And clearly, he was aligned with the Don Callis family for that one appearance and was going to feud with Kenny Omega. So it's like, all right, how's that all play into things? Like, is he going to be part of both? Like, is he actually going to be a part of United Empire long term? Or is he just going to be like this, off-screen money guy? And then, every once in a while, they'll bring it up like, oh, yeah, Andrade's funding this group and bringing in guys, but he's never really with them.
Well, AEW is not always the greatest at keeping continuity when guys come back and then they get, let's say if they get injured or for some reason they have to go off screen and then they come back, they're not always still in the full continuity with the group that they've been with. We've seen this with the Elite. We've seen this with, any number of different groups where like plans just don't work out and then they don't go back to those plans. Time marches on. And I can't even really blame them because that's a weekly television product where there's so many moving parts. It is hard to, like, I know Tony Khan wants to be a long-term booker and everything like that, but you have so many different people to appease and you're doing weekly TV. They have to slot the guys in where they can. And when there are injuries or, incidences, illness, whatever, they can't always go back to those plans. So I don't know that he will 100% when he gets back, if he will in fact be part of Don Callis' family still. At best, it'll be a throwaway, like he'll be involved in a feud against them and then they'll mention the one time he showed up with them and then it'll just be forgotten and it'll never be acknowledged again. But you're right. Like, how will they? In the past, there was a part of me that would have said like, well, hopefully these companies can come together and come up with a cohesive plan and work out a schedule. But it's very clear after 4 years of a partnership that they've never been able to get on the same page when it comes to any talent in terms of like the kayfabe utilization and sharing. So this isn't going to be any different. How will it play out? I don't know. I guess I could be Nostradamus and I could probably give you a few different predictions on how it's going to play out. But the long and short of it is, if he signed with AEW, this is not a long-term mainstay commitment. And anyways, even with that being said, because I'm not trying to just strictly scapegoat AEW. It's not even like AEW's bad. It's more like when you're signed with them, that's your main obligation. And this just becomes very secondary. But take them out of the equation. It's Andrade. Andrade was never going to stick around happily working on a consistent basis for a whole year and really drive the promotion. Like, that shit was never going to happen anyways. Like, at some point, something bad was going to happen and this guy would be out on the outs with the company anyway. So I'm not sure that if I was one of those guys in United Empire that I would be like attaching my my wagon to that horse anyways, because history tells us like he's not a dependable guy anyways.
Yeah. But I think for one night in the Tokyo Dome, adding him to that match doesn't make it a lot more interesting. We were speculating KOB, Good Brothers, all these other random names that we were bringing up. So it's very good that it is Andrade. I think for a one night, at least for that one night, I think it'll be good and it'll kind of elevate that match. And I think the interesting, history with LIJ and, Hiromu was like, yelling at the video. He's like, he was Ingo Bernab, like, what is he doing? What's his deal? So you got some history there of him and Hiromu. So that'll be very interesting. So yeah, I think for the Tokyo Dome, it kind of elevated the stakes of that 10-man tag. And I feel like with him in there, you got to think that 10-man tag is going to get some time. And so I think it's a good addition to the match. But as far as the future of him and the faction, there's a lot of questions that still need to be answered.
Yeah. And you know what? I'll say this. This match was, I know that the talking point everyone wants to focus on was the vignette, but the action in the match was so fucking insane and spastic and all over the place that I was like, it is great that they've injected him into it, but I'm like, man, if this is a real preview of what they're going to do in the Tokyo Dome, this rocks. Like this, and in fact, throughout the New Beginning tour, ever since they started this feud, every night the energy that's been involved with the United Empire and unaffiliated War Dogs feud or whatever, it's been full of energy. It's been really, really hard hitting and just kind of all over the place. And that continued. In fact, they raised the bar quite a bit with this match. It reminded me of when the first time War Dogs and United Empire feuded. It also kind of reminded me of the first time United Empire debuted and they were like feuding with Kojima and Tenzan and the other old guys. And like during the pandemic, and they were doing crazy shit and every match was ending in a DQ. I'm sure a lot of people probably don't recall or beloved that period, but that was like where they were trying to establish United Empire as a real force. And that's what this felt like. I'm like, man, they're letting these guys go and just go balls to the wall all over the building.
They're
like,
going crazy.
This is awesome.
Yeah, and then you had Count Newman. He pinned Gato with Finley's cross strike knee maneuver. And so I think Count Newman's done a great job really developing his character. I know we're a little bit critical on him kind of leaning into the Prince Devitt kind of style and hand motions and nickname. But besides that, I do feel like he's doing a good job of kind of becoming his own character, because he was kind of just, Will Ospreay Jr., and that was the character. He runs fast, and he was trained by Will Ospreay. And now he's kind of developing a personality, developing a character. And I think this heel turn's been working out really well for him. And yeah, I thought the action here was great. And so I think it's going to be a very chaotic, fast-paced, hard-hitting 10-man tag, and I think they're going to kill it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I feel like if they are intending to work this style of match in the Tokyo Dome, it'll be a huge change of pace. It'll be something. I mean, this match was clearly, of everything on the card, the thing that the crowd was most responsive for, and they were going crazy the entire time. I'm like, man, if they do something like this in the Tokyo Dome, like not exactly this, because the Tokyo Dome is limited and how far out you can go with the camera angles and the darkness and everything. It's not laid out like Korakuen. Mm-hmm. But if they let them go out there and have a crazy ass brawl all over the ring area, it's gonna rock. And I hope, and it'll also be a really nice change of pace and style from everything else that's going to be on the show.
Yeah, well, I feel like they kind of have to, the way this has been built up. Like, this has become a very heated blood feud. It'll be kind of weird to just go out there and just, wrestle normally. Like, it's gotten very personal, very heated. They're going to have to make this very hard hitting and brawling and very chaotic.
You would think.
Yeah. So following that, we had Doki and Sho defeating Daiki Nagai and Taiji Shimori and El Desperado and Kukai. So we had 3 of the 4 guys that will be in the number 1 contender 4-way match. And we had some shenanigans here, and ref getting bumped, Sho using a street sign to hit Nagai with, and Doki pinned him for the win. So they're just continuing to make Doki look super strong, and not being on the dome, saying he's too good for that, and making these guys, I think he's talking the Doki Cup, the Doki Games or whatever, making these guys fight to face him.
Yeah, they keep mentioning how he has completely sold out the Tokyo Dome with not even being involved in a match booked for the Tokyo Dome. Kind of the old, the Jay White adage, I sold out, MSG, blah, blah, blah. That's fine. I still am I still think that the booking of the match is fucking shit, but whatever. Like, there's no reason to believe. We'll save that for next week. I thought the match itself was pretty good, because you got an opportunity for all these juniors to go out there in a high octane, high flying pace and really kind of thrill the crowd. So that was nice, especially coming off that wild brawl that just preceded it. And then these guys go out there flying. I know that there was the cheap finish with the heat and everything like that. I know it's House of Torture and it compounds and it's not always great, but it was pretty minimal here. The way they won the match was very much like a Southern style tag, where it's like it looked like they're about to lose. The ref's down. Someone gets hit with the sign. Cheap 1, 2, 3 roll up. Plus, it's kind of a throwaway preview match anyway. So I was okay with it. I thought that it worked for the story of what they're trying to do here. And but at the same time, overall, I'm still just perplexed at no Doki on the Tokyo Dome. In the 1 year anniversary from when he was injured, it just doesn't make any sense to me. But what, the one question I had was like, okay, maybe this guy is injured and is recouping, and maybe that's why he's not able to do the match. But correct me if I'm wrong. He seemed to be like working pretty fine out there. He's pretty involved. Seemed to be taking like dives and bumps and everything. Yeah,
he looked fine. The one piece of commentary that kind of Cristiano was trying to help tell a story of why he's not on there. Actually, I think it might have been Phantasmal that brought it up first. But they were kind of saying like, he has trauma from the match last year and doesn't want to be in the Tokyo Dome because of the injury, which was like the first piece of some semblance to why. I mean, I feel it's still dumb that he's not on there, but that's like,
it's stupid.
Yeah. I think that angle could have been used to force him into a match at the Dome. Like, you could have had him be like, yeah, I'm not being at the Dome, and the whole reason why is because he's scared. And then you have somebody challenge him, and it's kind of forced that he has to go in, but he's really scared to go in. I think that could have been a compelling story to have a match with him at the Dome, but trying to use that and then him not competing at all is just dumb.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure a few weeks ago, actually, I forgot that I'd done that, but a few weeks ago I had like speculated that that's how it would end up playing out by the time we got through Road to Tokyo Dome, but it didn't. And we still got a press conference coming up. So, I guess if they really want to switch shit up, they got time to do it. But
there's no real reason for it. Like, if one of these guys had pinned him in this match, I'd been like, oh, they've been like, this needs to be a title match. But yeah, he won.
Maybe they should make it a 5-way and just inject him and keep Sho in there. And then there's the dilemma about Sho and Doki, and they'll work together, but not blah, blah, blah. Maybe they can do that. But it is stupid that he's not in the match. Like,
do you think there's a chance that the winner challenges him after,
right away?
Yeah.
And he comes out immediately?
Yeah, like
maybe.
The winner's like, I got my shot. Like, I want to face Doki right now, tonight in the Dome. And then Doki's like, oh, you just wrestled, so I'm going to come out. And then let's say it's Fujita. And then like he wins
Fujita.
Yeah, he wins the 4-way, and then he challenges Doki, beats Doki, and he wins the belt in the Dome.
I hadn't thought of that, but now that you've said it, I like that. It kind of reminds me of when Mox wrestled in the Dome, and then Suzuki walked out right afterwards. We're like, oh, they're gonna fucking wrestle right now.
Yeah,
let's go.
Yeah,
it didn't happen, but maybe that is where they should. In fact, that's what they should do. If anyone's listening from the booking committee and you're wondering what you should do, that's what you should do. Because it's just fucking stupid otherwise. Like, we've complained about the idea that there's not enough spots to get over the young generation, right? And this match is one of those few opportunities for a young guy like Fujita to have a great showing and make his name known. But the title's not on the line and the champion's not involved. So if you do the impromptu match and he beats the champion, and I think you don't do it in a classic match. I don't think you do it in a long drawn out thing. I think you do it where he struggled the entire fucking time. Doki says yes. Doki thinks he's getting, he's going to pick the meat off the bones. And this guy fucking rolls him up 1, 2, 3. And you're like, oh, and then Doki's like, like shocked and he can't believe it.
Yeah.
And then there's somewhere for them to go. I don't want to make it seem like Fujita is weak and he catches him on a banana peel, but he's going to have the out of having wrestled the 4-way and then outsmarted the bad guy standing tall with the belt, and now they can do the rematch.
Right. I think it's more of embarrassing the heel than making him look weak, especially since he didn't want to be there in the first place. So he pulls one up on him, and then you maybe even do the rematch the next night at Dash or whatever, one of the New Beginning shows, and then you have a built-in program for Fujita coming out of the title win.
Let's fucking go, Jeremy. That's really good booking.
Let's go. Get me in the room. Get me in the room. So then following that, we had the Knockout Brothers and Yota Tsuji defeating Hartley Jackson, Oiwa, and Zack Sabre Jr. So another preview for their upcoming tag team title match, and thought there was a lot of good action here. And the post match was just great with Yuto Ice just beating the crap out of Oiwa, kicking him, knocking him down, picking him up, dude. Yuto Ice is the man. He gets it. He has the aura. He has the intensity. I love everything about this guy.
Yeah, all throughout this tour, the post-match interactions between KOB and TMDK have been very, very heated, but most of them have centered primarily around Yuto Ice and Zack Sabre Jr. night after night, pull-apart brawls and chairs thrown and everything like that. So on this night, the fact that Yuto Ice turned his attention to Oiwa, and I loved what they were explaining on the commentary, how like these guys are part of the same generation. Oiwa came after him and kind of surpassed him. He had the good looks, the athleticism, comes from an affluent family, and was taken under the wings of TMDK early on and given preferential treatment, and went on his excursion sooner and came back sooner and worked in the big companies and yada yada yada. And then you got Yuto Ice, who's like not the same level of athlete. He's been fighting for everything that he's ever had since he's 15, had to go to the obscure lands of Europe and blah, 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 blah. And like has always resented this guy when they were in the it's almost like, I know that they told that same story with him and Yuya Uemura, but these guys are from the same generation. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And every single strike that he laid into, Oiwa, I was like, man, there's fucking money here too. This is great. And then, but the post match, he beat the shit out of Oiwa and left him laying.
Yeah.
And then Zack tried to get in there, and then they fucking hit him with what their finish also called the KOB.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't like that their team name is KOB and the finish is called a KOB. That's stupid.
I'm pretty sure, unless there's something else. I can't remember.
I think it is. I could be wrong. I'm not good with finishing move names or signature move names, whatever. But yeah, they hit him with their finish, which was great. And they left both of them laying. The only thing about this that left me a little perplexed, and it's some of the like wrestling logic that just doesn't make sense, is like, didn't TMDK win the match? Or am I forgetting? Who won the match?
No,
I forgot.
Knockout Brother and Tsuji. Tsuji, he hit the Gene Blast on Jackson.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I said that wrong. Yeah, okay, gotcha. Yeah, so yeah, Tsuji picks up the win, the match ends, but you still got like 4 members of TMDK that are all like good to go. And Zack and Oiwa start getting attacked. Why the fuck did the rest of TMDK just like go to the back and abandon them? They were just like, that's their fight. And they were like, I'm going to the showers. Like, I'm going to catering. They didn't fucking help these dudes when they're getting their asses beat.
Well, yeah, I guess Vegeta could have ran out. I guess Jackson was selling.
Was it just a 6-man?
Yeah, it was a 6-man.
Okay. Keep in mind, as I said earlier, that I was watching this on 2x speed right before the show started. It's been a busy day for me. For some reason in my mind, I thought it was a 10-man tag. And I was like, why the fuck didn't the rest of TMDK? And that makes more sense. Like, yeah, Hartley was laid out and there was no one else to come help them. So
yeah,
that makes more sense.
Vegeta was in the main event, so he was getting ready for that.
That makes more sense. For some reason, I was like, where the hell is Shane Haste?
Yeah, no Haste, no Nichols, no Eagles.
How come Tito's not helping them? What's going on?
Yo, Zack Sabre Jr. said Tito was coming soon at the beginning of the year. Man, lie to us.
Badu Tito is a failure of a friend. Yeah, I thought that there were other members that I was like, this is LIJism all over again. But I don't know the fuck I'm talking about.
So a good angle there. And they also did kind of bring up that KOB is mad at TMDK for doing the match at Dash instead of the Tokyo Dome, and they're being left off the card. So that use that to add some heat to their match as well.
I mean, I guess since we're on the topic right now, we should also talk about this week. There was a report that came out. What's the name of those groups? So who did those guys break off with and who are they?
So Self-Made. So they were part of Wrestle Purists. And okay. So It's Ibu, Chriso, and a couple other guys there. They broke off from Wrestle Purists and started Self-Made podcast, Self-Made Discord. And they have a lot of scoops. And so they reported on their show last week that they heard that WWE made an offer to Knockout Brothers.
Which, like, as soon as I saw that, my heart fucking sunk. And then I was like, wait a second, who made this report? And it said Self-Made. And I was like, I don't know who the fuck Self-Made is. This is bullshit. This is not real. And then I started asking around, like, who the fuck are these guys anyways? And they're like, oh, they're pretty legit. They're from like Wrestle Purists. It's Ibu and that. And I was like, damn it, fuck. But yeah, I mean, that would be really shitty if they go. Honestly, I guess we could have done our due diligence and started asking around and be like, is there any validity to this? But I just haven't had the time to do that, really, even though that's part of, I guess, our jobs. But I also, like, there's a part of me where it's like, we've been spoiled. I don't want to say spoiled. We have been clued in so much over the past few years about certain things that sometimes it does a little bit take away from the surprise of things as they're playing out on the screen, because you know that things are going to happen, but you're not sure when or how the delivery is going to take place. That sometimes I'm almost like, maybe I should take a little bit of a step back from like getting clued into things or whatever. Mm-hmm. So it's like, but at the same time, it is like, damn, these dudes only been back since G1 finals. That basically means that they've worked less than half a year. I know they've been with the company for a long time, but like less than half a year in the full fold. And already they won the Tokyo Sports Tag Team of the Year, and apparently have had an offer made to them from WWE. Now, I don't know. I haven't verified any of this, and I haven't asked around about any of it because it's just too busy a time of the year for me to really take a look into this stuff. But I saw people in the Discord saying that these guys, according to what they have heard, and it seems like a lot of the people in our Discord are kind of plugged into some of the deeper rumor mills where they might know things, saying that they seem to have made it known that they're committed long-term to New Japan and they're not going anywhere. But I haven't looked into it. I don't know that that's the case. I don't know if we're getting ready to watch these guys go work SmackDown and or whatever. Like, who knows? When I did hear that they got a contract offer, I did wonder, like, well, what is the offer? Was it something that was lucrative and alluring enough to drag them away? Are these guys WWE marks? Do they want their WrestleMania moment? I have no fucking clue. But I'm like, damn, I could totally see why WWE might. Oscar, bro, he's tall as fuck.
Yeah. Like, and Yuto Ice just jumps off the screen. Like, yeah, I totally get why they would want them. And again, like you, I really haven't, followed up or looked into anything. Like, it's a very busy time of the year right now. Plus, like, I didn't even want to wrap my mind around the possibility of them leaving anytime soon. But yeah, I definitely see why they would want them. And I do hope that what people are saying is true and that they are committed to New Japan for a little bit. But I mean, the yen is still down. I know people, we say as a joke, but when you look at like the exchange rates, I've been doing a lot of stuff for, as we get ready for our trip, you look at the exchange rates, it's like, man, yeah, the yen's down, and which is good for us. But it's like, but even a quote unquote maybe bad offer could be good to them money wise. And it's like, oh yeah, so do they care about the money? And are they going to go straight to the main roster? Are they going to have to go to NXT? Are they going to have to move? Like, what's all that going to look like? And so
I don't know what the actual like exchange rate is. So this is probably going to sound disrespectful, but they're like, all right, we're going to pay you a little less than we pay the NXT superstars. Is that good? You're going to pay us a 6-figure contract in yen? Fuck. I'm going to buy a house.
Big up, moving to Florida. Let's go.
I'm going to pull my family out of poverty. Oh my God. That's 6 times what I make in Shinihan.
Oh man.
Pay you a little bit less than what we pay,
Lola Vice.
Yeah, Lola Vice or Brian Pillman Jr. Oh my God, my life has changed.
We're actually going to have you start off on TNA, and then we'll call you over.
We are bringing you over to the very prestigious WWE ID program. You'll be headline stars of WWE Evolve on Tubi. Like, let's fucking go.
Oh, man. So, yeah, we'll have to keep our ears to the ground on that one. And, yeah, hopefully they will be around for a while. But, again, I can see why they would be poached and why they would want to go.
You know what part of it is, too? It's like, all right, the last time there was a really big story that was out was, we won't get back into it, but it was the stuff around Tanahashi's final opponent, right? And I got so invested in one outcome and then finding out that that outcome is definitely not happening and we're going the other way and being so despondent about all of it, and not just the fact of what was happening, but how it all went down and blah, 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 blah. That I'm like, damn, I don't know if I want to fucking know.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine? All right, let's put it in perspective. Can you imagine if you had known watching Wrestle Kingdom, let's say 10, that Nakamura and AJ are gone already? If you already knew that going into the Dome show, and then these guys are fighting for the IC title in the semi-main, but you already know they're signed to WWE, how fucking terrible that would be to watch that match. That's why I'm like, I don't know if I want to look into it. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I'll let Ibu do that. Whatever.
Yeah. And if I'm them, I'm not just looking at the money. I'm looking at the booking. Like, look at the way they've booked some guys they brought in lately. Like, look at Penta and Phoenix. Like, they might get a hot start and a big debut, but after a while, they're going to fall down the card and just kind of be fodder to, MFT and whatever other groups they have running around there. I'm surprised they don't want Fale to, boost up that MFT group.
He's too old, bro. They did try to sign Fale once upon a time. They tried. They reached out to Fale and to what's his name? They reached out to Tamatonga and Fale I'm talking not like recently, like many years ago, like in the midst of like, I want to say like sometime between like 2016 and 2018, like in the top heyday of like New Japan coming up. And they wanted those guys and they both declined the invitation and chose to stick around New Japan. I think long-term they were probably like kicking themselves for that decision. But who knows? I mean, Fale's got, I sometimes feel like that's part of the reason why Fale is like forever in the good grace, no matter what bad shit he does. Or, same thing with Chase Owens, even though that's for different reasons. Like, these guys show a little bit of loyalty and they're like, all right, we're going to put them in the, like in the Lamb's Book of Life. They are forever sealed as, chosen ones.
Oh, man.
It's terrible.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to the main event here. So we had...
I'm going to let you cover that main event while I run to the bathroom.
All right. So we had Hiroshi Tanahashi's final match in Korakuen Hall. So it was the ace, Hiroshi Tanahashi, defeating the Japanese young punk Kosei Fujita in 12 minutes and 10 seconds. So also not the longest match in the world here, but thought it was a very good matchup here. A little bit of a different pace than the Hiromu and Despy matches. For those matches, like we mentioned, those were a little bit more grapple based, a little bit more selling from Tanahashi there. Whereas this one, Fujita was kind of going full out junior style here. Did the big double springboard somersault to the outside to Tanahashi. So he was kind of giving all the high flying stuff, and Tanahashi was having to keep up with his speed and some of the high flying stuff he was doing. Tanahashi, would come back with his second rope senton from the top, and so trying to keep up with the high flyer in Kosei Fujita, but then Fujita also going after the legs, locking in his submission holds, and good back and forth here towards the end. Fujita hitting a frog splash, so his own high fly flow for a near fall towards the 8-minute mark. Tanahashi came back with a sling blade. Fujita hitting a great stalling German towards the 10-minute mark of the match, and then you had a great forearm exchange, and Tanahashi getting the better here, hit a big German suplex for a near fall. Then he hit the high fly attack and the high fly flow, 1, 2, 3. Tanahashi gets the win. So similar finish to the other two matches with kind of high fly attack going into the high fly flow finish there. So yeah, pretty good matchup. I thought Fujita looked pretty good, and I do like that Tanahashi positioned all three of these guys as stars and kind of went back and forth with them. So I thought it was a good way to highlight the junior division and a good way to highlight Fujita going into the Tokyo Dome. So post-match, we had Tanahashi. He did the wave with the crowd. He had Phantasmo running around doing the wave. Murashima threw in the air guitar, and so we got our big air guitar closing show there. He did his air guitar, and then we had the snow, as tradition, the snow falling down from Korakuen Hall. Tanahashi doing his ace pose and crying and hugging everybody, wiping his sweat all over the place. So a really good way to send out Tanahashi, and a very emotional moment there. So yeah, that's now that'll be an epic shot of him doing the pose with the snow falling all around him.
Yeah, I concur. Everything Jeremy said was accurate, and we can move on to the next topic. No, I really enjoyed this match. It was not quite what I was expecting or hoping for, because I sort of thought that the drama and buildup of the prior two nights matches was going, it seemed like it was escalating, and I was like, all right, the stage is set. Like, we're going to have this really dramatic, big time main event where Fujita gets close. And that's not quite what happened. Now, what did happen is these guys did a sprint, and I don't know if the sprint was based on maybe the pacing of the show, and there was only so much, like they typically try to keep a certain, showtime. I don't know all the ins and outs and specifics of like what contract situations are with certain venues or whatever, but I know that they typically try to keep like a Korakuen Hall show around 3 hours, and they only went 12 minutes. This was just the shortest of the three matches that Tanahashi did, but they went faster and worked at a much higher rate and pace than he'd been working with either Hiromu or Desperado. So from that aspect, it was really exciting. I thought Fujita looked awesome doing all of the high flying spots in the early portion and going straight after Tanahashi. But as it wound up playing out, this isn't to say that Fujita didn't have a good showing. He definitely had a good showing, but the latter half of the match kind of just became like, all right, Tanahashi has come back. We're on even footing. Now Tanahashi has just overwhelmed the kid, and he beats him in a 12-minute match. So it's kind of a sprint. And what I was really hoping for here was, if we are going to hypothetically, either in the future establish Fujita as a top guy, or even just prepare him for the Tokyo Dome, I wanted him to get a little bit more from Tanahashi. Like in the early goings, Tanahashi sold for him. He attacked the leg. He put Tanahashi in the same, I don't know the name of his submission, but the submission, which is like a reverse, like surfboard chin lock, where that's how he beat, who's the Yo in the Super Junior finals. So they kind of talked about that on commentary.
It's like the Nemo special or something like that.
I forget the name of it, but it's a good submission hold, but he got it so early in the match. I'm like, there's no way he's going to beat him with that right here. I mean, it wasn't paced in a way to where it was like, okay, that would be a believable flash finish. But that was sort of the end of his, heat segment, or I'm tired. I keep forgetting the names of words. Of his shine. Like, he got the early shine and dominated Tanahashi, and then Tanahashi just kind of came back, attacked this kid's knees, slapped him, German suplexed him, sling blade him, just gave him all his shit, and then high fly floated him and got him out of there 1, 2, 3. It was very good. The crowd was very into it. It was a great way to send Tanahashi off for his 400th and some odd match in Korakuen Hall. He's just shy of 3,000. He's not going to hit 3,000, although I do kind of think he might be back even down the road. Maybe he'll hit 3,000. But I kind of wanted, I hate to be nitpicky here, but I kind of wanted Fujita to get more from this guy.
I don't know. I guess I didn't really have a lot of high expectations for these matchups. I felt like it was going to be I was happy with what it was. Yeah, maybe they could have done a better job of more time and highlighting more, but I figured.
Well, let me put it to you this way, Jeremy. Do you remember the 6-man tag team match when the final title defense with the Mega Aces and Ishii versus TMDK? And so much of that match centered around Fujita and Okada's interactions. Mm-hmm. And even though Okada wouldn't obviously job to the kid or anything like that, he got these crazy near falls where it was like he was really highlighted and you're like, shit, this kid's got something right here. That didn't happen in this match. He looked great. The match was very fluid. I loved the fact that they worked a really fast pace and that it was essentially a sprint. But it sort of felt like what happened is the story to me was Fujita punched himself out early. Like he blew his wad so quick. Yeah. And then Tanahashi with his age and experience and his better gas tank just like took advantage of that and beat the kid. I believe in Fujita. I think that the company has something with him and this was an opportunity. It wouldn't have even taken much more. I think they should have given him some really believable near falls down the stretch so that when it's all said and done, it's like, man, he kind of took Tanahashi to his limit. But honestly, he was less effective in his offense and attack than Hiromu and Desperado. And the way it ended up realistically playing out is he's third in the pecking order to those two guys who are above him, but he's younger than them. He's the next one up. I think that they should have been telling the story where it's like, he's able to achieve more against the ace than these two top juniors. And that's not what happened.
Gotcha. I see what you're saying there. Yeah, that makes sense.
The match itself was very good. In a nutshell, the match was really good. It reminded me of a very high level version of like, when they do the top guy versus the young lion on their way out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This was like a higher level of that, but it was kind of the same. You know what I mean? Like they get a lot of offense early on and then the top star kind of just gets them out of there. That's what happened here. But like, he didn't acquit himself as a top guy. He acquitted himself as like a very fast paced, fiery young baby face who gets a lot of offense in early. And then it was just kind of got beat.
Yeah. Well, I still think it's kind of a special thing for him to be the guy that is the last
final guy
to beat to face Tanahashi in Korakuen Hall, his last Korakuen Hall show. So I feel like people will remember that more than this match. But yeah, and then the post match was great.
I want every match to be in a vacuum great.
I know, me too. Yeah, and the post match was great. Tanahashi celebrating with the snow. So yeah, great way to close out his final Korakuen Hall show.
I still need to watch it, but I have not seen that part, but I'm looking forward to it.
Marriott Bonvoy is the official hotel partner of US Soccer. Join Marriott Bonvoy today to get closer to the game with exclusive perks, unforgettable experiences, and benefits that go beyond the pitch. Spring Hill Suites, part of Marriott Bonvoy, offers complimentary hot breakfast and spacious all-suite accommodations, perfect for the whole team, with room for up to 6 guests. Make your next getaway a win. Learn more at springhillsuites.marriott.com.
Hey, this is Steve Gorman, radio host, sports commentator, former drummer for the Black Crowes. The winter holidays are here, a time for festive celebrations, family gatherings, and ringing in the new year. Whether it's a holiday party, a night out with friends, or just relaxing by the fire with a few drinks, it's a season full of good cheer. But here's something else to add to your holiday plans, a safe and sober ride home. Just like in sports and music, always have a game plan. And the most important part of any plan is sticking to it. If you plan to drink, take that plan a step further. Call a rideshare, a taxi, a sober friend, or have a designated driver lined up before the night begins. Drinking and driving is a decision that can change your life and the lives of others forever. A DUI, a crash, an injury. The consequences are real and lasting. So please, for your sake and for everyone else on the road, make the smart choice. Get a sober ride home. Drive sober or get pulled over. Paid for by NHTSA.
Well, we can get into the year-end awards. We're about an hour 27 in the show. I know we still got some ways to go. Jeremy, here's what I was thinking. I know in the past we've gone super duper in depth with these awards. I'm thinking we kind of abbreviated a little bit. Let me just say this. I don't know that I personally necessarily want to give the full resume of every single one of these Wrestler of the Year candidates. I think we might want to hit like 1 to 2 bullet points and then just fucking move on. Because here's the thing. I think a lot of people kind of have their minds made up. I think getting the names out there is going to be effective. And I know in the past we've kind of used this as a way to reflect on the full year of New Japan. And I hate to be that guy, but I don't know that I want to reflect on it.
Yeah, and also this used to be more of a primer. We would do this show before the ballot's released, so it's kind of like a big preview, and then you get the ballot. So the ballot's been released, so if you have not voted yet, if you go on our Discord, or if you go on our Twitter, Reddit, the link for the ballot is there. So go ahead and get your votes going here, but we'll still kind of go through and we can go through the categories and kind of quickly go through the nominees and any points that we want to bring up.
Although, let me ask you this. Have you already voted?
I have, yes.
I have not. Have you been keeping a tally on the votes that have come in and what the trends are looking like, even just early on?
Yeah, I was actually looking earlier today, and now I'll just pull it up right now, and we already have over 100 votes.
Oh, shit. Wow.
Yeah.
We just dropped them.
Yeah, we just dropped them, and we're right now sitting at 119 votes. So it's been very interesting watching because it started out, when the first 10 votes, it started out one way. I was like, oh, it's very interesting. And then as more votes coming in, things have been shifting. There's a lot of them where it's
I'll tell you why. It's really easy to tell you why, Jeremy. I hate to cut you off there, but we have fucking sickos in our Discord, right? Our Discord members are going to be the first ones to reply to something like this. And that's one of the first places we dropped it. But they're fucking sickos in that group, okay? They love House of Torture. They were telling us that they were going to vote for people for Wrestler of the Year that aren't even fucking nominated on the ballot. So that they're the first ones that, I'm just guessing, but I'm just going to say they were the first ones to jump on the shit. And then when it made its way to the broader landscape, it was oh, okay, nature has corrected itself. And you can tell me if I'm wrong on that, but that's my assessment without even having ever seen the results or anything.
Yeah, well, I didn't go through each person, but there's just a couple categories where it started out kind of interesting, and now it's kind of leveling out. So maybe your theory is right there. But yeah, I'm looking at it now, and there are some categories where it's kind of oh, I easily could have guessed that, and then there's some interesting races in some of the other categories as well.
Nice. Well, I guess I will start us off with the big award, the Antonio Inoki Wrestler of the Year award. We have the following candidates. And keep in mind, we mention this every year. If you're listening, we don't try to, influence the vote of the voters. You guys are going to vote however the fuck you want to vote. And these are fan voted awards. They are not decided by me or Jeremy. But we do work very, very hard to determine what we deem, in mine and Jeremy's collective opinion, as being the rightful nominees for the awards. And some people don't always love who we have selected, but that's fucking okay because it's our awards. But it is up to you guys to determine, of the selections that we have made, who you think is most deserving. The way the voting goes, when you vote, definitely be sure. I'm guessing we probably have the vote embedded into the like text of the fucking episode or whatever?
Yeah, the link will be in the show notes, and you can go to our Twitter account. I'm also trying to put a banner up on the screen right now.
Great. So there's places that you guys can vote. And when you vote, it's 3 votes per category. So first, second, and third, and the first gets the most points going towards that individual. Second is second and third's the least. So without any further ado, we have the following nominees. Wrestler of the Year, David Finlay, and this is in alphabetical order always. El Desperado, Gabe Kidd, Hiroki Goto, Hiroshi Tanahashi, Konosuke Takeshita, Yota Tsuji, and Zack Sabre Jr.
Yeah, and this has been one of the interesting categories to watch as votes come in, because I really don't feel like there is a clear-cut winner here. I think it all kind of depends on what you really value. A lot of people are voting for Tanahashi just because, it's his final year. He did wrestle so many matches. I mean, there might not have been a bunch of match of the year contenders, but he had huge volume, a lot of big moments, a lot of big main events, final matches in different cities. He was all over the place. And so from a work rate standpoint, people, they want Tanahashi to get the win. And then you look at guys like Hiroki Goto, who did big business, was champion half the year. He's getting a lot of love right now. Zack Sabre Jr. getting a lot of love, a guy who main evented the Dome back to back. And if you look strictly from a bell to bell perspective, I do think Zack Sabre Jr. probably had the best in-ring year of all the people on this list.
Maybe there's one other person that if you go to, and there's some people who are going to hate that I say this. There's some people that are going to love that I say this, but the reality is the only other person on this list that in terms of like critical acclaim, and I'm not just talking about worldwide, I'm talking about in the cerulean blue, the one other person who matches his resume is Konosuke Takeshita, the current reigning IWGP champion. That's not to say that he's had a standout year in terms of drawing and in terms of fan reception and in terms of, overness when it comes to his win with the G1. There's been some shortcomings there. But if you're just looking at bell to bell, the one guy who holds a candle to Zach is Konosuke Takeshita, and he did obviously win the G1 and win the title. I think the difference with Zach is consistently excellent in every facet of being on the tours all year long, whereas Takeshita is a guy that's coming in between shots with, other companies. That being said, he is the one guy that when you go star for star, he's going to hold a candle to Zach. Some other names that weren't mentioned here. So David Finlay has had a sneaky good year, having top matches with guys like Tsuji, having a good match with Evil in the G1, his team overcoming the ward or the House of Torture in the steel cage match. He wore the white belt during the calendar year and had a really great G1. And then there's always Gabe Kidd that you have to pay attention to, who was uber hot at the start of the year, probably had the match of the year with Kenny Omega, and had an incredible series of matches with Yota Tsuji, and it was very critically acclaimed throughout the year. Obviously, the G1 injury, quote unquote, the G1 injury kept him. It didn't allow him to excel in that one aspect. But I think if he had been in that G1, we might be having a different conversation. And the only other guy that we haven't really talked about is Yota Tsuji.
Yeah, Yota Tsuji, again, a guy that's been the white belt champion twice in the grading period. Great match at the Dome, winning the belt from Dave Finlay. Had good showings in the G1. Also the big match with Gabe Kidd at the New Beginning in Osaka. So he had a lot of big moments this year and was the one Reiwa guy that was really consistently pushed and always kind of in the mix for title matches and big moments and tournament plays. Got into the semifinal or the play-ins for the G1 and got close to getting to the finals again. I feel like another solid year for Yota Tsuji.
I also forgot to mention David Finlay winning the New Japan Cup, challenging for that IWGP title.
Yeah.
So a lot there. Let's move on to the next category.
Yeah. So match of...
Wait. Do you want to say who you have voted for? And do you want to give any predictions on these awards as we go along?
Sure. So let me pull up my ballot here. Let's see.
I haven't done a ballot, but you know what? I got to tell you, Jeremy, I'm leaning Tanahashi. I know that sounds crazy because here's the thing. This is the first time ever in the history. I know it's all about in-ring work and it's all about accolades, right? The kayfabe, all of that sort of shit. But number one, they did sell out the fucking, I know it's in, it's hard because it's on the verge, but they sold out the fucking dome on this dude's retirement. And part of me, this is just my own personal views. In the early iteration of the year, I feel like it was a 2-man race between Desperado and Goto. And it was, they were off to the races and there was no one else who was even in consideration. And then shit happened and both of them lost steam and it didn't really play out in the second half of the year the way you thought it would for them. And then when you kind of look at like some of these other guys, it's very regimented, very, very segmented in their arguments. But it's like Tanahashi's kind of like the little engine that could. He's like, I believe I can. It's like he won no titles. He won no tournaments. His G1 did not finish great. But he's the one fucking consistent and obviously he's very limited in ring, but it's like he has had consistently very, very good to great matches. Maybe he doesn't peak as high as like a Zack Sabre Jr., but all year you can count on him. He's had so many fucking singles matches and then he's drawn all this business and it's kind of so emotional what he has done here. I'm like, damn, I might vote Tanahashi as wrestler of the year. Like, and also Tokyo Sports, of all the guys in New Japan, he's the guy that they voted the most for MVP.
Yeah. So I did vote Tanahashi number 1. I went.
You did?
Yeah.
That's crazy. I did not expect that.
Yeah, I've been saying in the Discord, I'm voting for Tanahashi. I think that
I thought you were joking.
No, I'm dead serious. I thought his year was just great across the board. And yes, his ceiling for matches weren't as high as some guys like Sabre or Takeshita. But yeah, you mentioned the business, the emotion, just the output of matches. This guy literally didn't miss any tour. He worked every tournament that he was eligible for.
Should have worked Super Juniors.
He had the big final match in the U.S., last big moment in the U.K. In the Lights Out Steel Cage match. Like, this guy was all over the world, all over Japan, every tour, several main events, and I just felt like it's just a really good, closeout year for him. And plus, he's never won this award since we've been doing it, since 2017. So I'm like, this is the last shot.
It's just, for me, I'm just not convinced of anybody else's. The only other one that, just me personally, I feel like some people are probably screaming at the screen, Zach. You know what I mean? And I'm like, he's been so excellent in ring, accolades wise. He's won these accolades. He's done great things. What's the fucking ace?
Yeah. And a lot of people might be screaming Goto, wins the big one, does big business. He's a movie star now. So
I feel like when he got hoed out at Tanahashi Jam, that was like the end of it for me. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. He missed G1.
Yeah, he missed the G1. Like, that was kind of the killer for his year. Let's go through match of the year.
Well, real quick, do you want to know what it's looking like?
No, I don't. I don't think I don't think the audience should know either, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Don't fucking tell them. That's insider information for us. And I guess Emily.
Yeah. All right. So match of the year. We got Hazuki versus Mercedes Moné from December 15th, 2024. I believe that what Strong Style Evolved. Was that show, I think?
Probably.
Kenny Omega versus Gabe Kidd from Wrestle Dynasty. Gabe Kidd versus Yota Tsuji from the New Beginning in Osaka. Hiroki Goto versus Zack Sabre Jr. from the New Beginning in Osaka. Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Konosuke Takeshita from Windy City Riot. Kosei Fujita versus Yo, the Super Junior Finals. El Desperado versus Jun Kasai from the Death Pain Invitational. Hiroki Goto versus Zack Sabre Jr. from Tanahashi Jam. Takeshita versus Shingo Takagi from the G1. Takeshita versus Sabre from the G1, the August 16th match. Takeshita versus Sabre from King of Pro Wrestling. And then Hiroki Goto versus Takeshita from the Tanahashi Homecoming?
An incredible collection of matches. And if you notice, like I've mentioned earlier, there are the last 4 matches all got Takeshita's name on them. Then he's also got the Tanahashi match. That's like, there's like, I don't know, what is there, 11, 10 matches there? Half of them almost.
I think we got 13 matches here.
Oh my, wait, we got 13, bro. I'd never like to have that many fucking matches.
I know, we argued about it.
See, I like it the first year we had it. We need to go back to how we did it in 2017. Lean and mean, no more than like 8 matches, but whatever. Regardless.
It's 12. It's 12.
Okay, and there's like, what, 6 Takeshita matches?
Yeah.
That's, well, maybe there's 5, but that's nearly half of the matches. So you get what I'm saying. Although some people would disagree, you know, so to each his own. I think it's interesting. We've got the one Joshi match that is a match of the year candidate, Mercedes Moné and Hazuki. Now we're going to talk about the Joshi match of the year in a little while. And that doesn't just include women's matches that occurred in New Japan. It also includes women's matches that were contested worldwide for New Japan titles. So that's going to open the door up a little bit. But Hazuki and Mercedes Moné was that fucking rocked, was really like eye-opening. That might be one of the very best matches of Moné's career. And then, you know, I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the fact that like Tanahashi and Takeshita just basically like rocked me to my core when it comes to the emotion of watching Tanahashi finish out his run in America. And I've been speculating of the last few days as we gear up to go to the Tokyo Dome. I'm like, I remember that feeling of despondence and sadness when I sat in the seat by myself, reflecting on the fact that Tanahashi was done. And it was so much less than what it's going to be like in the Tokyo Dome. And I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to compose myself. That's going to suck.
Yeah, that match was a great match live. And yeah, the emotional matchup and one of the truly great matches that Tanahashi had this year. This is the match that I fought for to be on the ballot. I just thought,
yeah, I almost cut it.
I thought that this was a really great match, and the emotion kind of pushed it over the edge where it might not have been, 5 stars, but that extra edge of that emotion really kind of put it over for me.
It is funny with mine and like Jeremy's partnership, because on so many things, as far as it comes to New Japan, not in life, but like as far as it comes to New Japan, there's so many things we're on the same wavelength, but there's always a little bit of incongruence. So when it comes to these awards, it'll get down to the nitty gritty, and I'll be like, which one do you want to cut? And he'll be like, which one do you want to cut? and then it'll come down to which one of us really, really wants to fight for the one extra one. Like, for instance, we're going to get to junior match, or no, for fight of the year, but like, I'm pretty sure it's only because of me that Super Juniors Grapple Fest like made it onto the fucking ballot.
Yeah. Sometimes you gotta pick your battles, and sometimes we have the ones that were like, no, like it needs to be on.
and it's only because as good as Tanahashi and Takeshita was, I was like, we've got to have standards. I think the first time that this ever happened was the first time we ever did Excursion Match of the Year. I was like, Cody Nick Aldis has to be on this.
Oh my God, yeah. And I was like, nah.
And it didn't do very good in the voting.
Oh man. So so a great collection of matches here. I voted for Kenny Omega versus Gabe Kidd as my number 1.
I'm not surprised. I think for a lot of people that is going to be their biggest match of the year, just based on the quality of that match. I am wondering if in the fallout 12 months, like here's what usually happens a lot of times is like big match happens in the Tokyo Dome, 1-4, sometimes 1-5 in more recent times. And then very little can compete with it the rest of the year. But not only that, the ramifications of that match continue to reverberate and have such impact and importance the rest of the year. This match is not like that. The match felt so special in the moment that you're like, we're seeing a new fucking era. I can't wait to see what happens. And you look at what's happened with Omega and Gabe Kidd since then, and it's a far cry from where we were a year ago. And I do wonder if that will have any impact potentially. But the match itself is so great in and of itself that it still just might stand on its own two legs beyond that. I think that there's a possibility, Jeremy. I don't know which. I'm probably going to vote that match number one, but I do wonder if El Desperado Jun Kasai might pull the fucking upset. It's so different from anything else that is on the list. And it is, I was almost kind of like, do we even throw it on as a true New Japan match? Because it is technically a produce. But in some...
No, it was labeled NJPW Death Pain Invitational.
Okay, it is on, like, say, Cage Match, and it is on every aggregated website. But on the actual promotional material, it's not. You know, they treated it like a... That's why I was a little torn, because it's like, I know Freedoms is involved. I know, like, Rolling Cradle's involved, and it is New Japan Presents. But you and I didn't get into the nitty gritty of it, but I wrestled internally with, like, do we really count this as part? But I'm like, I don't know if Shinichi Champion can be part of, like, the actual canon, and we can get, DDT versus New Japan, Yano versus whoever the fucking machine was from DDT, the 2-hour-long fucking match that was 5 match, and Taiji Ishimori Super Strong Machine. I guess we'll just include, the Death Pain and Invitational. But that match, I think I haven't looked at the voting, but I kind of have this feeling it might perform higher than people are expecting, and it might give Tanahashi or I'm sorry, Omega and Kid a run for its money potentially.
We'll see. And also the Road to Tokyo Dome videos, like all the produce, like the quote unquote produce shows were like in there, like the
why the fuck we're showing Yo like making out with tongue, bro?
What?
You did not see that in the preview?
I missed that.
Bro, unless I'm mistaking who is involved in this, but it was during the Shinichi Champion. But like you and I, obviously we didn't cover it because that's bullshit. Not the making out part, but just like, we're not going to fucking watch Shinichi Champion,
we're not going to pay for it. Yeah.
Yeah, we're not going to pay for it. But like, they're on the apron. It seemed like some sort of one of those goofball, funny, haha, gaga. But like, yeah, like Yo and Sho, bro, they start kissing and they're making out with tongue, like middle schoolers, like nasty. I was like, oh my God, bro, what happened on that show? I'm glad we missed it.
Oh man.
So yeah, I guess that's part of the canon though. So, in Antonio Inoki's New Japan, that's what we've gotten, the funny, the gaga, the haha, and that's where we're at. Someone needs to alert Tunnel Talk because I think they would love this shit.
Oh yeah. All right, you want to take us through show of the year?
One last thing. Goto Zack Sabre Jr. had 2 bangers that had some of the most emotional and resonating moments of the year, and there's probably a good chance that those are going to do numbers, and I really wouldn't be surprised if they actually deliver winning matches as well. So we'll see. Show of the year, we've got Wrestle Kingdom 19, Wrestle Dynasty, Battle in the Valley, The New Beginning in Osaka, Fantasticamania Night 8, New Japan Cup Night 6, Wrestling Dantaku Night 1, the Death Pain Invitational, Destruction in Kobe, and King of Pro Wrestling.
Yeah, great collection of shows here. I feel like all of these shows had the really big matches on it. New Beginning in Osaka. We had that great Tsuji Gabe Kidd match. Also, we talked about Kenny and Gabe from Wrestle Dynasty, Jun Kasai and Despy from Death Pain Invitational. So a lot of these shows had a lot of the match of the year contenders on them.
I'll tell you right now, for me personally, New Beginning in Osaka is hands down gonna be my match or like my show of the year. Just it balls to wall. Like it's the show that I think delivered the best.
Yeah, that's what I voted for.
Oh, nice. Historically, though, it's one of 3 shows that typically win this award. It's usually either going to be a Tokyo Dome show or a Dominion. That's just the way it's kind of always shaken out. I think if Wrestle Kingdom didn't have as many seminal matches on it this year, and didn't take place in the Tokyo Dome, it probably wouldn't have even fucking made.
It's kind of, to me, it's kind of like it's just like the big show kind of passed. Like, well, it's our it's our quote unquote big show of the year. It has to be on there.
Leave it off. But it probably didn't belong on there.
Yeah.
And then Wrestle Dynasty had some great matches, but I was like, I fucking drew bullshit. Like, thank God for Kenny Omega and Gabe Kidd, because this probably didn't belong in here anyways. But a couple nights that I want to really point out that I think deserve some mention. Fantasticamania Night 8 had like 4 back-to-back banger singles matches in the top of the card. I know Fantasticamania is not like traditionally seen as like a New Japan show because it's like the CMLL crossover, but like they're always good. They're always fun. But we rarely ever get like great shows out of Fantasticamania. And that final night was like, oh shit, they came to play this year, you know?
Yeah. Well, I feel like there's a very special crop of guys in CMLL right now, and obviously they're hitting on all cylinders, and so it's one of their biggest money making tours of the year for them. And so they came out here, and everybody on that show is killing it.
Bro, the Hechicero versus Barbaro Cavernario match that fucking rocked.
Yeah.
The other one I really want to point out that was incredible was New Japan Cup Night 6. New Japan Cup doesn't usually do very well in these awards just because they regiment so many of the tournament matches across, like the early tour nights do have a lot of tournament matches, but they're kind of bullshit. The way they booked it recently, it doesn't get good till down the stretch. And then it's usually 1 or 2 tournament matches a show. There's not enough there for it to get good. But this Night 6 was special because they had 4 quarterfinal matches that all delivered. And then they had the title match on top of it that also really delivered.
The Nagata match.
Yeah, the Nagata versus Goto match. That show really delivered.
Yeah, that show rocked.
Destruction in Kobe and King of Pro Wrestling also, like down the stretch, those were 2 like reinvigorating shows where people were like, New Japan's back.
Yeah, and the Takeshita winning the title was on King of Pro Wrestling. So yeah, there's a lot of good stuff on all these shows.
Yep.
So then next up, the Jushin Thunder Liger Jr. of the Year. We have Doki, El Desperado, Kosei Fujita, Robbie Eagles, Taiji Ishimori, and Yo. And I think for some people, the big glaring omission might be to them, Hiromu Takahashi not making the cut this year.
I don't think, here's the thing with Hiromu, like his biggest accomplishment in the year was winning the GHC champion and or junior title. We don't really count too much what has occurred out unless it's like a tiebreaker situation. Even then it's pretty null. His biggest accomplishments happened in Noah, or they occurred in the heavyweight division in the early quarter of the year. You know what I mean? But in terms of like junior matches, like Hiromu had an okay super juniors, but it wasn't standout. He had quite a few kind of major like singles matches, but they really just didn't deliver up to a certain level. I don't even want to say it's like, oh, he's slowing down or he's not as good, although there is some truth to that. I kind of think he just kind of phoned it in most of the year, honestly.
Yeah, and I think also, too, his style's kind of changed up. And like you mentioned, like because also our grading period is, November to November. And so the first part of the grading period was, World Tag League 2024. Wins Tag League, then he has the match with Naito that kind of bombs in the Dome, and then they win the tag titles, and then Naito leaves, and then from there I kind of feel like he was just kind of coasting the rest of the year.
They won the juniors or the tag titles.
Yeah, so I said won the tag titles.
Oh, my bad.
Then Naito leaves, like they drop him, Naito leaves, and then he's just kind of coasting after that for the rest of the year.
Yeah, but some of these other guys, Doki, I'll be honest with you, Doki, he returns he was in the midst of an all-time high going into the Tokyo Dome. He gets injured and he comes back. And honestly, this is just completely true. 90% of the work that he's done since he's returned has been extremely lackluster. And unless he's been in a tag team with Sho, kind of quote unquote over delivering in matches that we didn't expect him to, he's kind of sucked. But we have to kind of include him because he's got both of the junior titles at the same time.
Yeah, from a kayfabe perspective, since he's come back, initially, beats Destiny for the junior title, They win the tag titles. They clean house in the junior tag league.
Like when you win the junior tag league, you win the junior titles, you go undefeated in the tournament, and you end one of the longest reigns in recent modern history of the title. You kind of have to be included. But honestly, Jeremy, I probably would have cut this guy if he hadn't won if any one of those particular accolades hadn't been accomplished. We would have been like, unfortunately, he was a double champion, but we cut him. But once he went undefeated in the Super Junior Tag League, it's kind of hard to be like, well, I can't find him. But yeah, he not my junior.
Yeah, I voted for El Desperado here. Felt like he had a really strong year. He was kind of the anchor of the division this year. Like you mentioned, one of the longest running title reigns in the modern history for the junior title, and a lot of great performances. Also, talk about the Death Pain and Invitational. So I feel like there's a lot Despy did this year. Tosei Fujita, a guy I voted second for Fujita. He had another great year as well. Won the Super Juniors, youngest Super Junior winner in history. Felt like he had some big moments. Him and Ichiban Sweet Boys, him and Eagles performed well also.
Ishimori, at one point I thought about maybe we should cut him. And then you were like, look at how many matches he fucking worked. And then I was like, yeah, maybe he didn't have the level of quality match as he's had in the years past. But when I looked at like the breadth of work that he'd done, I was like, wow, man, like you can't cut the Iron Man at this point.
Right. And plus the Robbie X team, the work they did throughout the year.
No, that's not what I was going to say. Plus the gig job that he did in the cage match. Kind of hard to, you get a lot of extra points for bleeding on that level,
Yeah.
Robbie Eagles, for my money, of anybody who's in this group, maybe he didn't peak as high as like say El Desperado, who's getting all these like, Korakuen Hall main events. Night in and night out, when he's on the tour, nobody's as consistently excellent. And that's not just because he's been on this show. I don't give a fuck about that. I would bury him if I didn't think he was doing well. Robbie Eagles is consistently the fucking best junior wrestler in the company. He's just not on every tour. But if he were I think if they gave him the fucking title, he'd be the best junior in the company.
Yeah, I think he's very underrated and a very underutilized talent. I feel like, if you had this guy on every tour defending a title, giving him like, a Will Ospreay 2019 run, like he would easily win this category.
And a lot of the success of both Fujita and Eagles comes down to their tag team as Ichiban Sweet Boys. They had some of the best tag team matches of the year. And then you got Yo, and it's like Yo seems kind of like an outside pick. But then when you look at like he's had some, here's the thing with Yo. He had a lot of really meager lower end matches. And then he peaked super fucking high when the time came in some of the bigger matches this year, including not just the Super Junior finals, but there are a couple other instances. I don't have cage match in front of me or whatever, and I can't recall what those matches were, but there's like 2 or 3 times this year where he like knocked it out of the park, where it's like, all right, well, I guess we got to kind of include Yo, like he did deliver, but then he was also kind of like low end a lot of the time. So he's hit and miss.
Yeah.
With that being said, let's move on to tag team of the, and I'm going to say right now, my pick would be Desperado. Nice. Just he's champion all year. It's kind of hard to. Tag team of the year, we got Doki and Sho, Ichiban Sweet Boys, the Knockout Brothers, Ryohei Oiwa and Zack Sabre Jr., Taichi and Tomohiro Ishii, Taiji Ishimori and Robbie X, Templario and TJP, Tetsuya Naito and Hiromu Takahashi, and the world-class Wrecking Crew.
Yeah, so interesting collection of teams here. This was a very down year for tag team wrestling in New Japan. Also, we talk about New Japan not really being a tag team promotion, but they usually still have some standout teams, some standout matches. But this was a really down year, especially on the heavyweight side, with the belts kind of being in flux for the beginning part of the year. But these were the best teams. Also, we talked about Doki and Sho being junior tag champs and kind of clearing out the junior tag league. So they're kind of on there from a kayfabe perspective. And then you look at some of the top in-ring teams. You also see Ichiban Sweet Boys that we mentioned, the Knockout Brothers. I mean, these guys came in in August and just blazed a trail. I voted for them number one. These guys jumped out the page, killed it, won the titles, and had a great start to their return from excursion. Another great in-ring team, Oiwa and Sabre. They were the MVPs in the World Tag League that counted in this grading period, which would be 2024. And they've done great work every time they teamed up together. Ishimori and Robbie X, we mentioned, being a great team. And then you kind of have some fringe candidates here. Templario and TJP, they were the strong tag team champions. Naito and Hiromu, they won the tag league that was in the grading period. They won the tag team titles. And then World Class Wrecking Crew, Jarrell Nelson, Royce Isaacs, and they finally won strong titles in this grading period and defended them a bit as well.
Yeah, fun fact, Templario and TJP are the longest reigning and most defendingest strong open weight tag team champions in the history of the company, but a lot of it took place in Mexico. But those matches apparently were very good. Same thing with World Class Wrecking Crew. They had very good for the title reigns. The one team that you hadn't mentioned here, Taichi and Tomohiro Ishii, I know they didn't team together super extensively throughout the year, but here's the thing about them. Every single match that they had would rank in the absolute best matches of the entire year, and they held the tag team titles to where I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, here's the thing. Like, I get it. There are people who accomplished more than them, wrestled more than them, but no one peaked. And here's the thing. They had no lulls. So it's like they didn't have like a few peaks and then like they phoned it in. It was like they have nothing but excellence. And so it's like quality over quantity. I think they're the highest performing tag team in the entirety of the year. But I don't know. I feel like this probably comes down to a two-way race between, I'm just guessing, Sweet Boys and Knockout Brothers.
Yeah.
Plus, tag teams that have names are just fucking better than tag teams that.
Yeah. So gonna be interesting to see how it kind of shakes out, because I mean a lot of these teams have done really good work. But yeah, I think Knockout Brothers, Ichiban Super Boys might end up being the favorites.
It's like you said, they didn't focus extensively on any one team throughout the year. This wasn't a year where there was a lot of consistency. They turned over a lot of these titles a lot of the time. Even the junior titles turned over a lot. So it's going to be interesting. I feel like what it really comes down to is like, are you enthralled with the solidification of the heavyweight tag team title scene and the magnetism of Knockout Brothers as they've come in? Or will you look at the body of work of Sweet Boys as a whole collective and what they did in basically being the cornerstone of the junior scene? You know, it's going to come down to those two things. Either that or being like those world-class Wrecking Crew death matches in the US fucking rocked. So that might be the other thing.
Yeah. So next up, the Carl Gotch Strong Style Award. So this goes to, the hardest hitter, the guy that's making their matches a fight, tapping people out, roughing them up, the overall BMF of New Japan. So the nominees, we had El Desperado, Gabe Kidd, Hiroki Goto, Konosuke Takeshita, Shingo Takagi, Taichi, Tomohiro Ishii, Shota Umino, Yuto Ice, and Zack Sabre Jr.
Yeah, a different collection of guys than what we've seen in the past. Some familiar faces. Some of the guys that are constants on this award that are still here. You got Gabe Kidd. Or no, I'm sorry. You got Hiroki Goto, Shingo Takagi, Ishii, Taichi, and Zack. Those are like the guys who are always consistently on here. You know why? At one point, I actually posited that maybe we cut Zack Sabre Jr. just because even though he works probably the closest to a Carl Gotch style of anybody in the company, there have been times where I've kind of questioned, like, okay, is his technical style really generating the fight sort of element that we're looking for these awards? But this year in particular has really drawn a lot of nastiness in the way that he strikes and takes punishment, and the arm break of Goto and some of these finishes and his work in the G1. So it's pretty much warranted. And then, obviously like Goto, Taichi, Shingo, Ishii, these are guys that you can count on to go out there and put a fucking beating on people and take a beating and continue to keep coming forward. And that hasn't really changed, but it does depend on how you viewed their output, their body of work, their accomplishments, and the level of violence that they put on display this year.
Yeah, and Shingo Takagi, he's a guy who's won this award since 2020, and I think this is the first year that he might be in trouble.
I'm not voting for him.
Yeah, I voted. Who did I vote for on this one? Let me see here. I voted for Gabe Kidd, number one here. But yeah, this was definitely a down year for Shingo as far as like the amount of hard hitting and the quality of matches. I mean, it's kind of his built-in style, but there's a reason why he's won this thing multiple years in a row, because he was having these hard hitting bangers, and he would outperform Ishii and a lot of these guys in this category. But yeah, this was definitely a down year for him, and I think the streak is going to be broken by somebody here. I don't think Shingo's going to go home with this one. I think a sleeper pick, Yuto Ice. I know he's only been in since August, but again, this guy came in, jumped off the screen. Like, he has beef with everybody, and just the way that he rocks people, his forearms, his kicks, he's just nasty and brutal. And like, for a full year under his belt next year, I could definitely see him winning this thing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's got the body of work just yet to win this award personally, but we couldn't possibly leave him off with the types of kicks and knees that he's throwing at people and the attitude. I'm like, yeah, his violence is very visceral. Desperado is kind of an interesting one, because on the one hand, he had the violent matches this year, whether that was the death match with Jun Kasai, the no holds barred hardcore match that he had in Korakuen with Clark Connors. But it's more than just that. In his big matches throughout the year, so much of it is based on the grounded, technical, grind them down, take out their legs from underneath them and tap them out style. And you combine that with the strikes that he puts in there, he's kind of a sleeper pick in terms of like what he brings to the table. It's a collection of violence and technicality that's really on display. And it is kind of some of the reason why I complain about the guy, because I'm like, I want my juniors to fly and flip, and he doesn't do that. But what he does do is he beats the shit out of people. And so for that reason, I think he's actually a really good candidate, especially if you put a lot of emphasis on blood. He delivers in droves.
Yeah. Another guy to highlight real quick, Shota Umino. I feel like, also after bombing the dome, also we had the whole second chapter, Shaves Ahead, and then he came back and was wrestling a very hard-hitting style, and he kind of kept that for the remainder of the year. And so, yeah, he was rocking people. Him and Finlay had some hard-hitting matches, and so he really did up the intensity and violence and striking in his game.
Yeah, he really picked that up. I think I'm the guy that kind of fought for Shota Umino to kind of be on this list. Jeremy's the guy that fought for Takeshi to be on this list. And I was kind of like, I don't know, bro. Like, I know he does a lot of big strikes, but I'm like, I find most of his, like, what makes him special is his athleticism. It's the big power moves. It's the high flying. It's the athleticism. And I was like, I don't really love his strikes because I feel like they're soft. And Jeremy's like, the knees, the elbows, like, are you kidding? And then he was like, how many of these fight of the year candidates is this guy going to actually be in? I'm like, oh, I guess you're right. I can't really. If we have like 6 of his matches on fight of the year candidates, or I don't know what the number is, we'll take a look, but I'm like, I guess you can't just say he can't be the toughest fighter of the year if he's also in a lot of the toughest fights. So take that for what it is. But that is going to be our Carl Gotch Strong Style fight of the year. For Joshi of the year, and keep in mind, I know people don't always follow this. Sometimes it bleeds over a little bit, but this is technically just speaking of how they performed within New Japan or within the ranks of New Japan. I guess, what's the word when they oversee a match?
Sanctioned.
Yeah, sanctioned matches. So without further ado, we have these upcoming candidates. So we've got Azumi, Mayu Iwatani, Mercedes Moné, Mina Shirakawa, Sari, Saya Kamatani, and Shuri. And as always, Jeremy, it's always interesting with these awards because how fluid the Joshi scene is and how rabid the Western companies are to sign up these girls, and then like the changing landscape of Joshi. A lot of the women who are on this list had a huge impact, but are also like no longer in any way associated with like Stardom or New Japan. And so it's kind of like, it's crazy how things have shifted and how many of these women, like in a very small amount of time, like made an impact.
Yeah, like you mentioned, we kind of see that with this award because kind of women kind of coming out. Think of last year like Stephanie Kerr, somebody who was featured until she got signed with the WWE. But a lot of Stardom stars here. Shuri, Saya Kamatani, Azumi, some of the Stardom highlights this year, and so a lot of these women were featured, like you mentioned, in sanctioned New Japan matches for the Strong Women's title or the IWGP Women's title, or like contender matches. And Saya Kamatani obviously having a great year in Stardom. She's the red belt champion. She's really broken out into kind of the pop culture in Japan, the media, and has become a big star. She's the current NJPW Women's Strong Champion. So I think she could be a heavy favorite here. And then Sari and Shuri, they've had they feuded all year and feuded over the IWGP Women's title, had some very hard hitting matches there. Mercedes Moné also was the Strong Women's Champion in this grading period, or I think challenge. I can't forget. Was she a champion or was she just challenged?
She was champion, and then she dropped it during that 3-way in the U.S. It was actually the first title that was part of the multiple belts of Moné.
That's right. Yeah.
And then she dropped it, and she stopped making dates for New Japan, and then she started really going on a rampage collecting belts, which is kind of interesting to see how that could bleed over. Could people be giving her credit for the belt collector gimmick, even though a lot of the work she did kind of predate, it's only really in the first quarter of 2025 as far as New Japan's concerned.
Yeah. And Mina was a part of that 3-way and some other title matches throughout the year as well. Mayu Iwatani now with Marigold, longest running IWGP Women's Champion, had a little bit of action here in the grading period. So yeah, I feel like a good collection of Joshi talent here and some of the top women who competed for New Japan titles.
And it might be helpful if you're not sure, instead of having to go do all the homework and figure out who did what, when, where, and why, go look at the Joshi matches of the year. That's a really good indicator of the body of work that occurred in the year. You can kind of see who's involved in those matches and kind of give you some basis. I mean, obviously not everything is predicated on just the quality of work, but it's a huge part of it. And you can kind of see which of these names continuously, pops up here,
Yeah. And I voted Saya number 1 for me.
I could see that. My only gripe with it is, and maybe that makes sense, but Saya only really won. I mean, she did win the Strong Openweight title as the red belt champion and kind of quasi unified those, but she's only had a couple defenses. I'm not entirely sure which way I would go with this. I guess maybe because everything is so segmented, she does make the most sense. If I had to posit an alternative, it might be Shuri.
Yeah, that's a good. Yeah.
Shuri and Sari both had very strong title reigns, and Shuri is the first double or 2-time IWGP Women's Champion, and she did it both in the grading period. And she might have had the highest rated matches of anybody in the period, but a lot of it took place in Stardom, so it's hard to say.
Yeah. Well, next up, we have the feud of the year. So our nominees are David Finlay versus Yota Tsuji, Drilla Maloney versus Shingo Takagi, El Desperado versus Jun Kasai, El Phantasmo versus Konosuke Takeshita, House of Torture versus Hantai, House of Torture versus War Dogs, Hiroki Goto versus Zack Sabre Jr., Gabe Kidd versus Yota Tsuji, Konosuke Takeshita versus Zack Sabre Jr., and Sari versus Shuri.
Yeah, these awards are always very interesting because it really, like Jeremy mentioned during the Wrestler of the Year, it comes down to what do you value when it comes to your category? Is it going to be something that is more overall faction based, so overarching, involving a lot of different matches, a lot of different individuals and stories, right? Is that something that is going to be appealing to you? Is it going to be one definitive match that culminates a long running feud like a Desperado and Jun Kasai? Could it be something that is strictly primarily in ring, like Goto and Zack Sabre Jr. or Sari and Shuri, where it's just all there in the squared circle? Or is it going to be something a bit more personal, where these people like Kid and Tsuji, for instance, where it's like, yeah, they wrestled a lot, but there's also backstory and motivations and character work. It really depends on how you see these sort of things, and I'm not sure that one thing. I feel like this could potentially be a category that is closer in the races, but it does depend on where the fan base, bases their values. Historically, in most cases, whatever series of matches happen to be the best series of matches, regardless of anything else, they tend to be the winners. But then again, remember that one year when Liger and Suzuki, they only had the one match, but they had the most heated feud, and that's the one that won.
Yeah, and their feud, even though it was one match, there was tons of angles. There's a lot of angles that built to that one match, and there was a lot of multi-man stuff. So yeah, it doesn't always have to be just a series of singles matches, but yeah, historically, I do feel like that's kind of the winner, and so I think one of those that the highlight here is probably going to be like Goto and Zack Sabre Jr. 3 matches for the world title, all were very great matches. Sabre Takeshita also had a series of great matches as well. And then you got like Drilla and Shingo. They had like a 3-match series as well. So we have a lot of like 3-match series here on this on the nominees. A couple of faction stuff here with Hantai and House of Torture and War Dogs. Drilla and Shingo, we talked about potentially, unaffiliated and War Dogs, but that one didn't quite make it here. But we did kind of pull out Drilla and Shingo from them because they did a kind of feud before the whole factions were feuding, and they kind of had a story that kind of went throughout the year.
Yeah, Sari and Shuri, that's one feud that's very interesting because they did have 3 matches through the grading period. Only 2 of them technically are really, the first one didn't even take place in Stardom and wasn't for any of the titles, but the 2 matches that they did have over the title were very critically acclaimed. And even though I didn't love the third one, people really, really loved them and were pretty invested in that story. So that's something as well that kind of permeated throughout the year. Jeremy, which way did you go with these votes? Because I'm almost kind of leaning personally like Hot War Dogs, because I don't, but maybe I just need to go with the best on-screen one, which was like Goto Zack. I don't know.
Yeah, so I voted for Goto and Zack. I just feel like they had a really great series of matches. They were all for the world title, all in big moments. Goto finally wins a big one. You have the draw. You have Sabre breaking his arm, get the title back. So I just felt like that was just a great series of matches for a top title. They were the 2 top featured guys for majority of the year.
What hurts it for me is that the one match took place on a underseen US show and it was a draw, and it was also on the undercard. And then the other match took place on Tanahashi Jam and was kind of blocked from viewership. That's the one thing, like, it didn't have the acclaim that it deserved to have. Like, you know what I mean? That's the one thing that's holding me back from potentially voting for it. And maybe I still will. There's also Kid Tsuji. And it's like, yeah, it cooled down a bit in the middle, but it started as hot as possible and then it ended pretty good. I don't know. I'm very stuck on this one, but I do think the fact that Tsuji had these 2 major feuds with Kid and Finlay, that probably speaks to how good his year has been. And then Zack also having the feuds with Goto and Takeshita, some of the best in-ring stuff in the year as well. another, indicator of how good his Wrestler of the Year candidacy is. Last thing I will say, Desperado Jun Kasai. Only one match, but it's the long-term culmination of many, many, many years of storytelling, and definitely it's the most violent match in the history of New Japan.
Yeah, the fact that happened on a New Japan show is pretty crazy.
And for the junior title.
Right.
All right, well, that's going to take us to the Big Van Vader. I don't know if we're allowed to say this word. We've been told we're not, but the Gaijin of the Year. So the best foreigner competing in New Japan at this current time, and it's pretty self-explanatory. They're non-domestic, non-Japanese. Oleg Boltin, Callum Newman, Clark Connors, David Finlay, Drilla Maloney, El Phantasmo, Gabe Kidd, Robbie Eagles, Robbie X, and Zack Sabre Jr.
Yep, so I'll see a great collection here of the top foreigners on the roster. A lot of names that have been on here before, and we've kind of highlighted a lot of these guys already. I guess one guy that we really haven't talked about a lot, Boltin Oleg. I feel like he had a breakout year with the matches with Takeshita. He wins the Never title in Dominion, and I just feel like he really started kind of coming into his own this year. Didn't really feel like quite a rookie. I feel like he kind of started to get his pacing, his movement, and kind of really establish himself throughout the year. Callum Newman, a guy that's had an interesting year. He becomes, one of the youngest IWGP champions as far as with those letters on it, winning the tag titles with Jeff Cobb, getting them back and then dropping them. He challenges Goto for the world title. And then he has this big heel turn towards the end of the year. So kind of an interesting grading period for him, but he definitely stood out. Drilla Maloney, another guy we really touched on. He had a great breakout year, breaking out from the tag team of Connors and going into the Shingo feuding with Ishii as well, and just becoming this hard-hitting powerhouse bruiser in the heavyweight division, having a solid G1, kind of a key guy in the unaffiliated War Dogs feud. And yeah, I've been really impressed with Drill this year.
One other guy we haven't talked about too extensively, Robbie X. So when you first mentioned, there was one point we were talking about, like, I don't know if it was most improved or newcomer of the year, but you mentioned Robbie X is probably newcomer. Where I was like, is he even really technically part of this company? I mean, he kind of just comes in for shots. And I was like, let me just double check this. And I started looking at the cage match. And because I was like, oh, he's just a tournament guy. He worked, Super Junior, Tag League, and Super Juniors. That's it. And then I was like, oh no, he's worked all year, or at least since he first showed back up. And I was like, damn, he's got a lot of, and then I was like, and the work's been really fucking good. And I'm like, man, this is a guy who people were talking shit when he was first debuted, on those UK shows a year ago as the new member of the War Dogs. And they're like, oh, it's Robbie X. Ha ha ha. A flippy guy who's just, the UK indie style, but can't really make it on the world class level. And then I'm like, nah, almost every junior match he's in, he's a standout. So that's another guy that, I think has had a sleepy, really good year. And then El Phantasmo, I know sometimes he gets some hate, but he's multiple time TV champ, New Japan World Television champion throughout the year. I think he has fantastic matches. He had the big moment in Korakuen returning from from cancer. He won that title in the Dome. And he's had big matches against big people all year long. So he's another guy that I think's a good candidate.
Yep. And so I ended up going with Zack Sabre Jr. here. He won the award last year. I just felt like Zack, for me, was a top foreigner, but a lot of these guys do have a case for a first place vote.
If I were to tell you the three other guys that I think are probably going to come closest in the runnings this year, it's going to be Oleg Boltin, David Finlay, or Gabe Kidd.
Yeah, I went Zach, Gabe, Boltin were three I went with.
Gabe is he's done such great work when he's here, but the time he's spent away and the stuff with AEW, I think that killed it. I think if he'd stayed on the same trajectory that he'd been coming out of February, he'd be the hands down runaway winner with this shit.
Yeah. And then missing G1. Yeah.
Yeah. So faction of the year, things have changed in the landscape since the past few years a little bit. So we got the Bullet Club War Dogs. We got Hantai, the House of Torture, LIJ / unaffiliated, because we're going to count them as the same shit. Because like, who are we fucking kidding ourselves? They're the same thing. TMDK and United Empire. I don't know that there's too much to say here. You know which factions you like. You know which ones you don't. You know the ups and downs, the struggles, and the accomplishments of these groups. I don't know, Jeremy, if there's anything too expansive that you want to add in about what these groups have done or whatever.
No, I don't think we really have to dive in. I feel like we've kind of covered some of the stuff with some of the matches and feuds. I did go with TMDK here. You
white
got
men.
Yeah, you got the leader in Zach winning back-to-back domes, features throughout the year. Ichiban Sweet Boys. You got Vegeta winning Super Juniors. You got Big Jack Hartley Jackson being awesome. So yeah, that was a super strong year for TMDK.
Yeah, I'm wondering, you know, it's funny because Hantai always has a lot of like accomplishments, but they're not like a really full like faction, and they're just like, yeah, you know, just Goto held the title for the majority of the year, and Desperado's probably the top junior. No big deal, you know, whatever.
Yeah. Well, I don't think people really see them as a faction. It's just like,
but they are. Goto's the leader.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. You know, LIJ used to run away with this thing every year, but it is going to be interesting, you know, with no Naito, how people are going to see things. And I don't know. We'll see how things shake out. If my predictions are right, we'll see Bullet Club War Dog, or probably just War Dogs next year, and then whatever the fuck unaffiliated is a year from now.
Yeah.
But who knows? If things stay the same, we might see the unaffiliated War Dogs a year from now.
Well, next up, most improved. So we got Bolton Oleg, Daiki Nagai, Drilla Maloney, Hiroki Goto, Katsuya Murashima, Kosei Fujita, Rei Oiwa, and the Roughneck Shota Umino.
Yeah, these are always a tough collection of this particular category because people always think of most improved. I think they think of like in ring, they've gotten much better than they used to be, right? But we don't define it that way. We define it in any myriad of collection of ways. It could be that they got better in the ring. It could be that their standings within the company got better. They got better on the mic. They got more over, what have you. So, you know, let's just put the elephant in the room out there. You know, some people are looking at Hiroki Goto and like, he's been one of the best wrestlers in the world since like 2007. But it's like, yeah, but he's never been pushed at the top of the company, and he was the world champion, and he won like, you know, the big one, and then defended it successfully all throughout the year. And it really felt like, hey, maybe he goes to the dome with this shit. Tell me when you felt that way about Hiroki Goto prior to 2025.
Yeah. Also,
for that reason, he improved in terms of the kayfabe of the company.
Yeah, there was a clear elevation of him this year. Being a bona fide main eventer, top star, top draw. So yeah, that was an improvement from what we've known him to be, instead of just a tag guy or the never guy. He was locked in as a main eventer. Another name people might, you know, scratch their heads on is Shota Umino, because people kind of have that Tokyo Dome burn in their heads, and he, you know, he crapped the bed. But once he comes back, shaves his head, and kind of goes on this journey this year, he did improve from that, from bombing. He came back at a hard-hitting style, and now he's in a really good spot. You know, he's teaming up with Uemura, did great work in the tag league, which I guess this year's tag league doesn't count in the grading period. But overall, he's had a really solid year bouncing back from that failure in the Tokyo Dome.
Prior to this year, and we talked about this in the lead up to last year's Tokyo Dome, his big issue was he peaked so high, but more often, about a third of the time in big spots, he peaked super high. And then about 2/3 of the time, he shit the bed. And he was just not dependable. He's not a guy you could count on. But when he would deliver, you're like, man, he looks like one of the best in the world. This year, coming out of the Tokyo Dome loss, he just became uber consistent. That's not to say that, I mean, it's very clear he's not on our Wrestler of the Year awards. So it wasn't good enough to qualify him there just yet, or, you know, change the mindset of the fans to think like, okay, this guy can still be ace level again just yet. Maybe that will change in the future, but maybe he doesn't peak as high as he used to against guys like Mox and Will Ospreay and all that, but he also doesn't shit the bed. Like, he pretty much consistently delivers night over night at a top level, and he changed his entire working style. And I think the look could still stand to change, but he got in much better shape. I think he is actually a really good sleeper pick for most improved, as much as people might not believe that. And I mean, Jeremy, I'm sure you're going to want to talk about it, but like Drilla Maloney going from junior to heavyweight, dropping everybody on their fucking dome.
Dude, how he got the Drilla killer move over.
But improving from a guy who we were like, hey, he's got the look, but we don't know if he's got the goods in ring, to being like, okay, he's got the goods in ring. Now all he needs is and he's great on the mic. He's got the look. Now let's fucking get him in working the main event level style and get him to that top level. And then we've got a main eventer on our fucking hands. Fuck Callum Newman. You know, like, it's Drilla Maloney, baby.
Yeah, Drilla absolutely rocked this year. Like I mentioned earlier, the Shingo feud, the Ishii feud. He always performs great in the dog pound cage matches and great on commentary. He was always entertaining. So yeah, he kind of has all the tools. He had the talking, the look, the work, the it factor. Like, he has a lot going for him on the Bret Hart wrestler scale. And so hopefully he sticks around and we can get him continue to be elevated.
Daiki Nagai and Katsuya Murashima, two young lions who are both on this awards list. Murashima was a guy who at one point we were like, he's the weakest of all the young lions in the he's getting passed up by guys who are coming in, 2 intakes beneath him. Suddenly he's the leader of the fucking Noge dojo. He's the biggest powerhouse and he's put everything together. So he's really, really excelled this year. And then Daiki Nagai, like, he's always been good and he's always had charisma, but like that charisma went up an 18th this past year, joining with the unaffiliated group and like just all the fucking funny moments, whether it was like, doing the Kobe or the Kobe, or like doing the thing where he pretend like he's a young lion, and he just did so many funny fucking things this year.
Yeah, he's really connected with the crowd. There were several moments throughout matches he had where the crowd's like fully behind him and he's working all these multi-mans with unaffiliated. And so, yeah, he just really upped his game and he has that crowd connection. He has that fire. And yeah, he had a great year.
He works like a young lion. He has the look of a young lion, but I almost feel like he's not really a young, even like, remember when like Kosei Fujita was like, okay, he's not really a young lion, but he kind of is. He's under the wings of Team DK. Mm-hmm. It sort of felt like Team DK are doing him a little bit of a favor and bringing him up. But like, Daiki Nagai feels like, yeah, he's on the same level as like, Tsuji and those guys. Like he fits in. Like, why the fuck is he still in black trunks? Like, this dude needs. Let's put some tassels on this motherfucker. Get him flying. You know what I mean?
All right. So next up, newcomer of the year. So we got Big Jag, Hartley Jackson, the Knockout Brothers, Konosuke Takeshita, Ninja Mac, Robbie X, Tatsuya Matsumoto, Templario, and Zane J.
It's always interesting with this one because we try our best to make sure that person debuted within the grading period. But sometimes, like in that third quarter, fourth quarter period of time, people do debut. And then it's like, well, they're here, but they haven't really been here long enough for them to qualify for this year's awards. Let's push them out to the next year. And that's something that like kind of happened with like, say, Robbie X as an example. I think Hartley Jackson is another example. Those are two guys that are probably very good candidates. And then we always have this kind of, we didn't have it in the beginning of the awards, but we thought better about it as time went on. We're like, yeah, some of these guys started out as young lions, but when they come back from excursion, they're basically a whole new guy, a whole new character. It's a reintroduction. It's like Knockout Brothers. I mean, I'll just say it right now. They're probably going to run away with this fucking thing. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And it would have been interesting if we had done Yuto Ice and Oscar as separate, but they came in as a package. So That's another option that's out there. What are some of these other options here?
So you got some outside picks like Ninja Mac, and he's kind of one of those questionable guys. And when we think about guys too, like Hartley and Robbie X, it's like, all right, are they actually members of the roster, or are they just kind of tournament fillers? And that's another reason why there's a waiting period. So yeah, Ninja Mac was a guy who this was his second Super Juniors, and he had been in Junior Tag League last year, and it seemed like he was going. They had put the line mark on his picture. It seemed like he was going to be a member of the roster, and he's going to be on that
He's
China
working other tours.
Yeah, and he's going to be on that China show, and then he got yanked from that, and then we never saw that man again.
Yeah, it was like, for us, I was like, I guess we should throw him on there even though he's no longer with the company, because it's like he worked enough dates and tours where it's like at one point in this year, I guess he was New Japan, and then something fucking happened. I don't know. Yeah. But you got Templario, who is no stranger to New Japan. He's worked with them many years as part of the Fantastic Mania, but ever since he joined United Empire, he's made a concerted effort to work a lot of dates for New Japan, not just in the tournaments, but outside of that. And he's another guy that's been really fantastic. And then you got the young lions, Tetsuya Matsumoto, Zane J, both guys. It was funny where Jeremy was like, I don't know if we should do Zane J because he worked so many dates over in Strong, and I was like, bro, he worked like 4 matches and then he came over.
I don't know why, but I had this like memory of him like working Strong a lot and being on TV a lot, but I guess he really didn't.
I was like, go look at Cage Match. He barely worked. I was like, this man has no recorded matches before he came to Japan. So him and Matsumoto both, I think they're really fantastic. So a lot of great newcomers there. Let's jump into the Fighting Spirit Award. This is the award where those people that have accomplished very meaningful, emotional, and important accomplishments. So we have Desperado, the new deathmatch king. Doki, returning from injury and reclaiming the junior throne. ELP, Super Kicks Cancer. I like some of these titles that Jeremy's coming up with here.
Thank you.
Finley, his first singles tournament win. That's not the most inspired. Fujita being the youngest Best of the Super Juniors winner in history. Goto finally wins the big one. Sumi Sakai, the Woman of Honor, retires. Takeshita, the boyhood dream comes true. Tanahashi, the final ace tour. And finally, ZSJ, back-to-back Dome main event wins.
Yeah, so I feel like we've highlighted a lot of these guys and talked about a lot of these people who have nominees and kind of highlighted their big moments.
I will say this, Sumi Sakai's retirement match is a little bit of an unsung gem. Really fantastic. It kind of also dovetailed into the War Dogs versus House of Torture. It set the stage for that whole thing to take place, but that was a really good send-off for her, even though she's not like the most beloved Joshi ever. Like, I like what you said, Woman of Honor finally retires. She was like the cornerstone of like Ring of Honor's Women of Honor division.
Yeah. And even though she wasn't really a full-on, New Japan roster member, she was very instrumental in helping people come over to the U.S. for their excursions. You look at the Tempura Boys, Sho and Yo. She was big getting them over. Evil did some stuff in Ring of Honor. So a lot of the people that worked Ring of Honor for their excursions or coming over, like Sumi Sakai played a big role in that. And yeah, the retirement match at the Windy City Riot was a fun matchup, good emotional moment for her. So that's on there.
I don't think it was Windy City Riot. I think it was one of those other shows in like the California area that we were not at.
Gotcha. Okay. For some reason, I don't know why I'm remembering seeing
we were not there.
Okay.
With that being said, I will say one last thing. ZSJ going back to back, winning the Dome as a foreigner is unheard of. In fact, I almost feel like I don't want to take it away from him, but I'm like, it's kind of bullshit. Because no other foreigner has ever done that. And I feel like I love Zack Sabre Jr., but I'm like, I feel like it should have been reserved for someone that's like the biggest fucking star in the entire world when it occurs. And as great as he was, it didn't, but he did it. And it was so shocking that he did it. I was like, there's no way they do it. And then they did do it. And I was like, damn, they really they had him beat these dudes back to back. That's incredible. For me, Jeremy, the two that I'm leaning towards, just personally, I feel like the Desperado winning, finally beating Jun Kasai was so emotional that I'm like, I don't know, maybe that's the one. But Tanahashi's final ace tour is probably going to run away with this thing, like probably overwhelmingly.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that ends up doing. I voted for Goto, and actually I changed the name of it on the ballot.
Oh, you know what? That's a really good... Yeah, it probably could be the Goto win.
Yeah, and so I changed it to Goto. The G in IWGP stands for Goto. So yeah, I voted for that one because that was just a huge, like, monumental, emotional moment. And then I went with Zach, number 2, and then Tanahashi, final ace tour, number 3.
Very interesting. We'll see how that plays out for people. Let's jump into the Young Lion of the Year award. We used to call this the Young Boy Award, and then
Alex Coughlin.
Alex Coughlin won it, and we were like, "Yeah, you're the Young Boy of the Year," and he's like, "It's the fucking Young Lion Award."
Like, sure, sir. Yes,
we're like, "All right, we'll change it."
So we have Daiki Nagai, Katsuya Murashima, Masatori Yasuda, Shota Shomakato, Tetsuya Matsumoto, and Zayn J.
You know who the Young Lions are. You know who you love, unless you're not a real fan and you're not watching the openers. You're not watching the multi-mans with Tiger Mask and Hanma and Togi Makabe beat up on these guys. But if you're a real one, you know what the fuck is up with Matsumoto. You know what the fuck is up with Yasuda. You saw him get his tooth busted and bloodied. You know who you like from these guys. I got a feeling there's a good chance Daiki Nagai runs away with this thing, but honestly, I feel like the class is a lot closer in terms of overall quality than people probably want to give them credit for or realize. And I am still wondering, like, what the fuck is the Young Lion Cup actually, like, it's just not going to happen? They teased it. These guys try to work themselves into a shoot and, they shoot themselves into a work, Jabroni Mars, whatever the fuck that is, but it's not going to happen. But yeah, I think Daiki's probably going to take this thing.
Yeah, I can think easily see him running away with it just with his charisma and being positioned in a faction. But overall, I mean, we have a really good crop of young lions right now. It kind of took a little bit, but they're all kind of starting to come into their own. And I think, it's now or never for the Young Lion Cup because I feel like a lot of these guys are also ready for excursion. These guys are kind of also talking about where they want to go. So they should probably do that after Wrestle Kingdom.
They should do it during Fantascomania, something that it just doesn't belong on. And then it's just a total change of pace. It's like, all right, well, we got, I can't even think of his name. I was trying to think of a particular luchador that's there every year who is really old and kind of, it doesn't matter. But yeah, you want to watch. No, it wasn't Okamura, but you watch Okamura wrestle, then you watch Zayn J versus Matsumoto, and then you got a 6-man tag for the Black Cat Memorial tag. That's what we need.
That would rock.
The Strong Style. Did you take Daiki Nagai, I assume?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. The Strong Style Fight of the Year here. And yeah, keep in mind, guys, we had 33 candidates at one point, and then we kept narrowing it down. And then we're like, all right, well, these are the definites. And we're like, well, there's 17. My fuck, there's way too many. So we cut some. I'll tell you right now, MJ, you're probably listening. I know you really loved that match between Shingo and Gabe. It didn't make I know you gave it 5 stars, but it didn't make the But without further ado, we got Konosuke Takeshita versus Tomohiro Ishii from Wrestle Dynasty, Kenny Omega versus Gabe Kidd from Wrestle Dynasty, El Desperado versus Jun Kasai, June 24th, 2025. That's from the Death Pain Invitational. Goto versus Zack Sabre Jr. This is the June 29th match. That's going to be that's the Tanahashi Jam match.
Correct. Yeah.
Gabe Kidd versus Yota Tsuji from New Beginning. Taichi versus Ishii from the Soul Tour. This is a little bit of a controversial pick. We are not including the entirety of the what's it called?
The Gauntlet.
The Gauntlet match. We're just kind of singling out the final match of the Gauntlet, which is Taichi and Ishii, and just counting that as a Fight of the Year candidate because, let's face it, that's the best part of that match. Fujita versus Kushida from Best of the Super Juniors. Sari versus Shuri from, you don't have it listed here, so I'm not sure which show that was from, but it was the latter half of the year. Goto versus Shingo Takagi from Dominion. Taichi versus Zack Sabre Jr. from New Japan Cup. The Dog Pound Steel Cage match from New Beginning. I believe that was in Osaka. And then Yuto Ice versus Yuya Uemura. That was a road to one of the final shows, probably Power Struggle or something like that, or KOPW. And those are your fights of the year. Some really good fights got left off, but we've got an incredible collection. And keep in mind, Strong Style Fight of the Year, it's not the best match that was violent. It's the most violent match that was best.
Yeah, and some of the matches that we haven't talked about already, Dog Pound Steel Cage match, every year this match always delivers, and even with House of Torture in there, it was still a very violent match. They built this up as a blood feud, and you had the stretcher match that came out of this, and a lot of the big moments from their feud kind of built into this Dog Pound Cage match, and you had guys bleeding, thrown into the cage, a very hard-hitting, this bloody, crazy match. And then you mentioned, Yuto Ice and Yuya Uemura. Like we talked about with Yuto Ice, like this guy just, he has the heat, he has the beef with everybody, and he just brings that hard-hitting, violent, they talk about him being a street fighter and having to fight for money as a young guy. And like the way he wrestles, you believe that. Like how he's hitting people, how he talks smack, how he gets in people's faces, and how he just wrecks people. I'm like, yeah, this the real street fighter right here.
There was a time in this company where this is a little off topic, but let me just get this thought out there because it's finally hit me. So one of the things I've always lamented in recent years was like there was that period where it was like, okay, Okada's not champion anymore. So now he's going to work with the young guys. He's basically going to be the Jumbo of this generation and build the next generation, put all those guys over. And then him and Naito, they're fucking gone. Tanahashi's leaving, and it's like, fuck, who's gonna stand in the gap and put over the rest of these guys? And you got Goto, you got Sonata, you got CSJ. They're kind of like, the stand-ins, but it's not the same thing. But maybe we don't need that shit. Maybe you just need to put every single Reiwa guy in there with fucking Yuto Ice. And we don't need an old guard to get him over. We need a new guy to come in and be like, fuck your bitching, fuck your moaning, eat this kick. Bubba Clatney. Let's big up. Let's get high. Like, bro, every person that he has wrestled from, and it's just been a few, but like when he's wrestling Oiwa, I'm like, I believe in Oiwa. When he's wrestling Uemura, I'm like, I can see it now. Bro, him and Tsuji at Dominion is going to do numbers.
Yeah, that's gonna rock.
Oh man, but action. Can you hear me?
You broke up there for a little bit.
Yeah, we lost connection. I apologize. One thing I was going to point out, Takeshita, not really on this list. I think I was somehow, I don't even think I did it, intentionally. But if you notice, he was probably in a lot of those matches that we cut. And I'm pretty sure I pushed for.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We can cut this one. We can cut this one. Yeah, the Ishii match was...
Maybe he didn't belong on this list.
The Ishii match was the one standout fight for him from Wrestle Dynasty. Very hard-hitting matchup. The other match you pushed for was the Kosei Vegeta versus Kushida match from Super Juniors. Very heavy grapple-based. I didn't love the match, and I could take it or leave it. It wasn't really for me, but it does rocked. It does kind of fit that grapple based fight. So it's on there.
It's embarrassing that Jeremy was, a folk style wrestler and he can't appreciate the finer stylings of the catch can stylings of these guys. It's gone too far away.
I don't know. Part of it might be Kushida. I'm just kind of like, he doesn't really do much for me anymore. And if I remember correctly, that was like one of those like weird cities they were in. The building was, I don't know, there was something just off about that whole night in that match that I don't know, I wasn't really feeling, but it's on here.
It is interesting, Desperado and Jun Kasai being a Strong Style Fight of the Year, because it's like, it's not really, what we deem like the never style of strong style fight, the Puro, but then it's like, there's never been as much blood, glass, and violence in the history of this company. So it's kind of hard to keep it off. And then, you look at some of the other matches that also featured, Suri and Shuri. I know I didn't love the match, but when you do that many shoot headbutts, you got to be on the list. And that many head drops, you got to be on the list.
Yeah. All right, so junior match of the year. We got El Desperado versus Kosei Fujita from February 4th. El Desperado versus Francisco Akira from March 6th. Ichiban Sweet Boys versus Robbie X and Taiji Shimori from April 4th. Clark Connors versus El Desperado from April 4th. Francisco Akira versus Hiromu Takahashi from May 15th. Kosei Fujita versus Yo from June 1st. El Desperado versus Jun Kasai, June 24th. El Desperado versus Yo, September 24th. Ichiban Sweet Boys versus Kushida and Yuki Yoshioka, October 26th. And then Ichiban Sweet Boys versus Robbie X and Taiji Shimori from November 1st.
I don't want to shortchange the rest of these awards, but we are pushing up on the 3-hour mark here. What I will say is that there's a lot of Desperado here. I am wondering how the more classical junior styling matches compared to like the acclaimed death match, or if enough people saw that death match to really care. I know some people are going to rate it highly, but maybe it didn't permeate the zeitgeist. I also wonder if some of these tag team matches that exist if you notice, the Sweet Boys kind of dominated the tag portion, and if any of those them versus Robbie X and Taiji Shimori matches might break through. What did you vote number one, Jeremy?
So I voted for Despy versus Jun Kasai from the Death Pain Invitational, and based on the voting, people did watch that match, and it's doing very well right now.
That's probably where I'm going to vote as well. Tag team match of the year. Keep in mind, the grading period starts with last year's World Tag League and goes through to it ends at the new tag league. So Bishamon versus ZSJ Oiwa from 11/27. ZSJ and Oiwa versus Takagi and Tsuji from 12/2. 24 ZSJ Oiwa versus Shota Umino and Tomohiro Ishii on 12/23. Those were all World Tag League matches. You got the Sweet Boys versus the War Dogs team of X and Ishimori on 4/4. You got Hiromu and Naito versus Taichi and Ishii 4/26. The Dog Pound Steel Cage match on 5/3. The generational match between Fujita, Oiwa, Umino, and Uemura versus Taguchi, Ishii, and Zack Sabre from 9/12. The KOB versus Umino and Uemura versus 10/13. Ichiban Sweet Boys versus Kushida and Yuki Yoshioka on 10/26. And then Ichiban Sweet Boys versus Robbie X and Taiji Ishimori from the Super Junior Tag League.
Yeah, so a solid collection of tag team matches here, and also that ZSJ Oil versus Umino Ishii was actually the Road to Tokyo Dome match. It was the preview tag for the Zack Umino title match. But yeah, some good collection of matches here. We kind of highlighted Ichiban Sweet Boys and Robbie X and Taiji Shimori. Both those matches were great. We talked about the Dog Pound Cage match. Hiromu and Naito versus Ishii and Taichi. That was a really, really fun match up there where Ishii and Taichi get the titles.
I feel like, in my opinion, this is just me personally, the two best tag team matches, in my personal opinion, are also two probably forgotten and underwatched and maybe won't be received as well tag matches. And that's going to be the Road to Tokyo Dome, ZSJ Oiwa versus Umino and Ishii. That might be one of the best New Japan tag team matches I can ever recall. And then, like you just mentioned, the LIJ versus Ishii and Taichi match, like that one just fucking delivered. But I feel like they don't have the cachet as some of these other more well-seen matches.
Yeah, I went with the first Ichiban Sweet Boys versus Robbie X Taiji Shimori from that Road to Sakura Genesis show.
Oh, you like that better than the second one?
Yeah, I thought that first one just really... I mean, the second one's great too, but I like the first one a little bit more. And I went with KOB versus Umino and Uemura second, and ZSJ and Oiwa versus Umino and Ishii third.
And here's the thing. There's so many great matches on the tag ballot this year. I think that there's valid arguments for literally almost any of them. So definitely brush up on those. Let's go to the Joshi match of the year.
Yep, so we got Hazuki versus Mercedes Moné from December 15th, 2024. Then Shuri versus Mayu Iwatani from April 27th. Mercedes Moné versus Azumi versus Mina from May 9th. Shuri versus Alex Winza from June 6th. Shuri versus Sari from June 21st. Azumi versus Bozilla from July 24th. Sari versus Suzu Suzuki from September 6th. Saya Kamatani versus Azumi from September 27th. And Shuri versus Sari from October 13th.
Now, I'm probably telling on myself, but I didn't look at the ballot because we had other people doing that for us, and I haven't voted yet. Do we just have the dates, or do we have the shows that these occurred on?
I just put the dates. If people want to look at the shows, I can copy and paste and look in cage match.
Okay. I would recommend that for a lot of you. Some of these matches, like Hazuki, Mercedes Moné, the second or the third Shuri Sari match, some of those did occur with, and then also Mercedes Moné, Azumi, and Mina, they took place inside of the New Japan ring. There were quite a few other Japanese or women's matches that occurred in New Japan, but a lot of them didn't, and they were good too. Some of them happened in the Dome this year, but they didn't make the cut. And that's because so much of this high-end work that was taking place in Stardom over these titles really like super uber hyper delivered. And I would highly recommend, if you're not overly familiar with all these matches, maybe before you vote or even after you vote, I don't know, just take the time and watch a lot of it because they delivered in spades. There's also the Shuri versus Alex Windsor. That one is also worth noting because that took place in Eve over in the UK. And that one also really delivered. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was part of the campaign to get Windsor over into to AEW, and I think it helped with that.
Yeah. So yeah, a really solid collection of women's matches here.
I believe, if I'm correct, the three, and now I don't know that these are the three that will win, but in terms of like reception, Shuri versus Sari, Shuri versus Mayu, and Hazuki Mercedes are like the three most highly rated and critically acclaimed matches on this ballot. But we'll see how it all shakes out.
Yeah, I went with Hazuki and Moné for my number one.
I love that fucking match.
Yeah, that match rocked.
The excursion. Oh, good.
No, it's your turn.
Excursion match of the year. So we got El Desperado versus Jun Kasai versus Masashi Takeda from 310. Konosuke Takeshita versus Will Ospreay, 416 in AEW. Jun Akiyama and Zack Sabre Jr. versus Taichi and Tomohiro Ishii from a produce show. Sari versus Shuri from Stardom on 621. Bandito versus Takeshita, 711 in Ring of Honor. Robbie Eagles versus the Tuckman, 8-1 from PWA in Australia. Nigel McGuinness versus Zack Sabre Jr., 824 from AEW New Japan All In. The Lights Out Steel Cage match from the same show. The Grand Prix International 25, the Torneo Cybernetico, which featured a myriad of New Japan talent from CMLL. Konosuke Takeshita versus Okada versus Mascara Dorada, 920 from AEW. Azumi versus Saya Kamatani to unify the belts in Stardom, 927. And then lastly, Bandito and Brody King versus Okada and Takeshita, 1018 from AEW. So even though I was successfully able to get Takeshita off of many of the Fight of the Year candidates, there's no way I was going to be able to get him this many times off of the excursion match of the year. And that's because he, outside of New Japan as a contracted talent, he's the highest performer, basically. So it's just some of the best standout stuff here. But this is an incredible eclectic collection of matches. All the same, though, Jeremy, I did notice a lot less excursion activity as we normally see from New Japan in other years.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the years you had guys like Suzuki and then Sabre kind of going all over the place. Will Ospreay, wrestling all over the world, and there'd be a huge collection to pick from. And yeah, this year, I mean, there was some stuff like within Japan, and you had a few guys going over to AEW, but not as much as we've seen in the past. But still a good collection here. I went with Bandito Takeshita for my number one from the that Ring of Honor show, All In a Weekend. Just absolutely incredible matchup there. Like you mentioned, Takeshita has a handful of matches here, which is he has what I call it the Will Ospreay effect, which he might not win because a lot of times Ospreay will kind of be spread all over the ballot with so many matches that they kind of compete against each other. And so that could be the situation here with Takeshita, because, I mean, the Bandito match was great. The three-way with him and Okada and Dorado was great. Him and Okada versus Brodito was great. So there's a lot to choose from with Takeshita.
I do think a lot of the AEW stuff has been seen by the fan base. Most of these matches, if you haven't seen them, they're well worth your effort and time to check out. Some of the underseen matches, but for instance, last year we did have Tuckman versus Robbie Eagles on the ballot, but it didn't get very many votes. Very, very few people saw it. This year's match was much more hyped and has a much better reception on Cage Match and just in general. So I feel like word got out and people started paying more attention. Plus they did great promotion for that match. The rematch is even better than the first match. If you haven't seen it, it is available for free on YouTube. I highly recommend you check that out. This year's Torneo Cybernetico is standout. It's like 2 hours long, but trust me, it is going to be hard to watch that and think maybe that you shouldn't vote for it for Excursion Match of the Year. And then the last little plug I'll throw out there is Jun Akiyama and Zack Sabre Jr. teaming up against Taichi and Tomohiro Ishii is as excellent and awesome as it sounds like. Find that produce show. We are going to close out with the last two candidates here. So we've got, whatever they're called. Categories. We have the angle of the year. Evil cuts Tanahashi's hair. Shibata saves Tanahashi from the House of Torture. Shota Umino shaves his own head. Yuya Uemura returns from injury and saves Taichi from Sonata. Chaos and Hantai unify. Tanahashi makes Goto the leader. Jun Kasai invites El Desperado to wrestle one more time in a decade. Sonata turns on the War Dogs and joins House of Torture. Naito and Bushi say goodbye to LIJ, and Naito passes the torch to Tsuji. Owens and Fale turn on the War Dogs / Evil. Stretcher jobs Finley. Yuto Ice and Asuka return from Excursion. And then finally, Kazuchika Okada returns to New Japan.
Yep. So I'll see the top angles throughout the year, the turns, the moments, and I'll see one of the big ones is going to be Okada returning to New Japan. You saw the way the crowd, try to bum rush that man when he's walking down the aisle. I think that one's going to do very well. Knockout Brothers coming back from Excursion. I think it's another one that would do well. Just what an impact they made coming back and making their debut for the company and being part of the War Dogs. The Jun Kasai, giving the envelope to El Desperado, I think kind of sit home for a lot of people as well. Sonata turning, he might not do great in-ring work, but the turn on the War Dogs and joining the Torture was kind of a big moment there.
Yeah. Yeah, I do have to say we kind of fucked up. This was one of the last awards that we did, and I take some personal ownership here. For some reason, I thought that we had War Dogs and unaffiliated team up. Got left off. Somehow we got Evil cuts Tanahashi's hair during the Road to Tokyo Dome still on there, but it's too late. You guys are already voting, so we can't do anything about it now. I'll keep it very simple. I think that this is a one-man race. I think Okada being Tanahashi's final opponent in Gifu. Was that in Gifu? No, was that Aichi?
Yeah, Aichi. Yeah,
I forget.
After he fought Yuto Ice.
I just can't imagine that anything else is going to beat that, honestly. As good as some of these, although there are some creative directions here where you're like, great moment, bad booking. What the fuck are we doing in 2025? But I feel like the moment of Okada coming back is going to be very hard for anything else to beat.
And this is one of the categories where you think it's a runaway, but this is one of the very close ones right now where there are multiple that are doing very well right now.
Well, we'll see. I'm not trying to. I'm not personally. That's just my opinion. I'm always pleasantly surprised when the voters do something unexpected.
Yeah.
Except for when it's the year that
the Young Bucks won tag team of the year.
that the War Raiders deserve to be the tag team of the year. And somehow the fucking Young Bucks, I love the Young Bucks, the greatest tag team of all time. They did not deserve to be tag team of the year that year. Should have been the fucking, I at this point, I'm not sure what to name them. Are they the Viking Raiders, the Viking Experience, War Raiders, whatever.
One of those.
But yeah, they should have won.
Yeah. Well, last category here, news story of the year. So the biggest news story that happened in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling, we have Konosuke Takeshita signing with New Japan Pro Wrestling, Chris Charlton on indefinite hiatus following the Wrestle Dynasty rant. Jeff Cobb leaves NJPW. Naito and Bushi leave NJPW. Aaron Wolf signs with NJPW. Kazuchika Okada being named Tanahashi's final opponent. The lowest total attendance average for the G1 since 2015. TV Asahi to broadcast Wrestle Kingdom 20. New Japan sell the Tokyo Dome for Wrestle Kingdom 20. And Bushi Road stops reporting profitability by division individually.
Some big news story. Some of them are more behind the scenes, money related, business related. Some of them are just on the screen. Some of them are departures. Some of them are, Chris Charlton getting suspended and nobody, being willing in the company to speak on it. There's a lot there. I think it's going to be interesting to see, and then some of it is people being signed like Takeshita. It's going to be interesting where these news stories happen in the year. And as some of them are more recent, has there been enough time for that to like percolate and for it to have the effect as you think it might? Other stories happened a while back and we've had time for them to maybe ebb and flow in terms of how people perceive them. Aaron Wolf, one of the biggest signings in New Japan history, but we just haven't seen it. I don't know what the fuck that means. It's going to be very interesting how people perceive gut reaction. I know you've already seen some of these votings, but what do you think was the biggest news story? What do you think is going to be the thing that takes? I'm guessing maybe New Japan selling out the Tokyo Dome.
I don't know. I voted for Naito and Bushi leaving. I just felt like that kind of came out of nowhere, and it just had a big impact on the company. That was the top draw, the last really big star from that golden era from 2012 to 2019, and him just leaving the company. It just was kind of weird, and you're kind of like, oh man,
unexpectedly,
yeah. And so Bushi could also a tag along there. Obviously, it's Naito what's the real big deal there. But yeah.
Where's Goto as E Honda in the Street Fighter movie? Where's that?
We cut that. And you're frozen.
Hello?
Yeah, are you there?
Did you not hear my comment?
Yeah, I said we cut that.
Here. I was being facetious. Yeah, I don't know. We've had some technical issues. I'm sorry. Yeah, I think that's a big one. I think some of the low attendance for New Japan could potentially be a big one, but I don't know. We spent more time talking about Okada and Tanahashi, and that was so recent. I don't know. Maybe that is something that will resonate with the voting base. But I do kind of feel like New Japan selling out the Tokyo Dome for the first time in so many, that is such a big fucking deal. And I don't know if it's going to hit people or that it matters with people like it really should. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We'll see. But yeah, that is it. I don't know that these were perfect awards, but we did the best that we could. We put a lot of time, effort, energy, and work into this shit. So pay us money. You can send a donation to Red Circle, but no, vote in the awards, share them in your wrestling groups. Don't just share them into any bullshit. Oh, you know what? It's so late in the show, but I need to make a correction and an apology. Remember when I said that the owners of DPW reached out to us to ask if we wanted a podcast with them? It was not DPW. it was a different company called GSW that went out of business within a year. They started in like 2020 and I think they were done by like 2021. But it was easy for me to get this first off 3 letters. It ended with a W and they both had orange and black logos. So it's not really totally all my fault that I confused the two. Plus I don't watch fucking indie wrestling. I'm not a nerd. But yeah, it was the GSW guys that asked us if we wanted to podcast, not the DPW guys.
Did somebody reach out to you?
Great. They reached out to us. You don't remember this?
No, I'm saying for correction.
No, it dawned on me. You know how sometimes like something just comes out of the blue and you're like, oh fuck. Like I wasn't even trying to remember it. It just like popped in my head and it was GSW. And I was like, fuck. Oh my God. So yeah. Which, you know what? Before I said, if it had the fact that we thought it was DPW, we probably should have podcasted with them because they did such a great job. And no shade, but it was GSW and they didn't really last very long or do very well. So I guess we probably made the right call not podcasting. But all the love, maybe they'll go on to other ventures. I'm sure it seemed like those guys were fans and very passionate about wrestling. And I know they had good shows and had big names come in for the short period they ran. So, hats off to them. It's not easy, but that is going to do it for these year's awards. Share these in your Discords, your Twitter, your Reddits, wherever it is that you have knowledgeable wrestling fans and friends that would love to be involved, and then tell them about Keeping It Strong Style and have them come listen to us. Tell them about the Patreon, the Tanahashi Ace of the Universe. Let them give us $5 a month,
Yeah. Well,
go listen to FOH.
Yeah. Well, that's going to wrap it up. Next week, we'll be back to preview Wrestle Kingdom 20 with our good friend Chris Samsa, and we'll cover all this news. Remember, if you want to watch our show live or listen without ads, sign up at patreon.com/KI Strong Style. You can also make a donation by visiting socialplex.com/donate and click on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. Make sure to get with us on social media on X and Blue Sky. Follow us at KI Strong Style, at socialplex, at Jeremy L. Donovan, at YB_Josh and Liger on Facebook. Follow us at facebook.com/socialplex and the Wrestling Square Circle Facebook group. On Reddit, I'm the Pro Black Guy. Josh is Keeping It Strong Style on YouTube. We're at socialplex. Join our socialplex Discord server to interact with us and other wrestling fans. You can email me, Jeremy, at socialsuplex.com, and check out all those shows that we have here on the network. One Nation Radio, hosted by Rich Latta and James Boyd. All Things Elite with Floyd and Austin. Imps AEW Adventure with the Implicating Matthew Mayer. Wrestling Art with Chris Things. Tunnel Talk with Ali and Leah. And the Trish and Sarah Wrestling Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a rating and review. And we will catch you next week on Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts.
It's your bomb.
Thank you for listening to Keepin' It Strong Style. We'll see you next time.
Marriott Bonvoy is the official hotel partner of US Soccer. Join Marriott Bonvoy today to get closer to the game with exclusive perks, unforgettable experiences, and benefits that go beyond the pitch. Spring Hill Suites, part of Marriott Bonvoy, offers complimentary hot breakfast and spacious all-suite accommodations, perfect for the whole team, with room for up to 6 guests. Make your next getaway a win. Learn more at springhillsuites.marriott.com.